starting soon means that we're starting soon. This is soon. We're done. We're starting. I'm a very busy person. I built a new business today, so as soon as COVID was over, I was ready to go, ready to get it done. I don't know if you know what that's like. It's you're busy, and then I had a doctor's appointment afterwards, so they could check me and make sure that COVID didn't do anything, whatever. Turns out Nellie's lung is just got a pocket of, it was collapsed. It's not fully, and it's not. She's doing way better, but she's still having residuals from the COVID. So everybody, please keep praying for her. Got some stuff to talk about. A lot of weird stuff to talk about. A lot of things that have gone on. One subject I'm almost afraid to talk about because I don't know. It's a very weird thing, So, oh boy, let's get started. John, thank you for that donation, $10. I appreciate you. Always come through. You're always a great guy. Can everybody hear me good? Everybody can hear me. As everybody has probably already figured out, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's get this Patreon done real quick. Everybody that contributes: Ryan, Super Hornet 1, Debbie Wolf, Extreme Reality Check, Histotech, James Estrada, Tim Renard, Ricardo Herrera, Barry, Titan, Chronological, Dead Man Walking, Guy, Don Wells, Melissa Panay, Derek Tribble, Andrea Crass, Patrick Nickerson, Dick Richards, Joyce Burnett, Wendy Page Williams, Barbara Blendy, Martin Hertel, Terry Puseler, Chris Clough, Curtis Turner, Philip Morn, Alexandra Murphy, Matthew Durgo, Chris Smith, Ralph Ayu. Thank you guys for being pledging $10 a month on the Patreon. I appreciate that. You help produce the show. Thank you for that, everybody. I'm going to talk to a couple people tonight. I had somebody lined up and he tried to run away from me. But he's in Germany, and it's like I can wring his neck for running away from me. But trying to get a hold of Mr. Phil Stern, if everybody could just flood his page and go to his messenger and tell him to get his butt on the show like we'd agreed and tell his Dogman story in his own words. But trying to get a hold of this guy. Woke up, blood pressure through the roof. Almost didn't get to make it to the office. That's why I'm so late. I had to get my blood pressure down and don't even know why. I just woke up. I think probably that's because I'm burning the candle at both ends and I'm really tired. It's crazy. So anyways, if it feels a bust, that ain't a big deal. We're waiting on the chat room to fill up, and I'm going to make a phone call to a friend of mine who, if you don't know his name and you don't know who he is or what he's done, you really should. Because this is an author who's done probably, I'm not even going to talk until he gets on the show and you can let him, you can talk to him. And that's going to go on in about 15 minutes. In the meantime, Phil Stern, guy that runs my fan page, is missing in action because he's afraid to talk about. You're afraid of talking about Dogman, Phil. Okay, you're a chicken, beep beep chicken. That's what you are. That's what you are. You're a chicken, very bad chicken. You don't want to come and talk this about the Dogman. Because me, I thought talking about Dogman is no big deal. It's like I go, Dogman, you better behave. I come out with you with a whip. Or my quartage, boom, bam, 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 Dogman. I shoot you, Dogman. But you scared. You cheat on people. Guys, I want to talk about something kind of serious. As everybody knows, Armando had passed. We lost Johnny Henderson, Cryptid Studies Institute, and his passing can be overstated. Like what he brought to the table. So I'm pretty hurt emotionally, drained. If anybody finds it in their heart to donate to Elijah and his sister to help them, I'm going to talk about something pertaining to that. Tanya, thank you for that donation. Before me and Johnny got sick, both of us, we had talked about doing a project together. I don't know if that particular subject could be what opened up a Pandora's box that got me and everyone around me sick, caused people around me to die. Nobody in my immediate family, thank goodness, or my immediate circle. That's a blessing, but just the fact that an old friend in Armando died, it was kind of hard to take. It was kind of shocking. But like I said, the blessing, I guess, is that nobody else, that got sick around here passed. Johnny, of course, was up in Kentucky. And I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this, but we were going to do a show about the Bell Witch. And I think I mentioned that. And Taylor, thank you for that. Thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. I got beat last week because we didn't even get $50, so Anthony beat me. I don't want that to happen again this week. But anyways, there's supposedly a curse attached to that, and I was blissfully unaware. And then when I was being told about it by Barton, I started to kind of, oh yeah, that's right, there is. I've actually read it, but it was just out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. I've been cursed before. I've had hits put on me before. So I mean, you're not thinking, oh, I'm gonna live my life worrying about this stuff. But I'll tell you what happened to me. I'll tell you the story, and we'll get into that. But right now, I want to tell you prtpodcast.com. That's the website. Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com. That's my email address. There was a lot going on. I mean, the train was moving, and everything was in place. I was getting ready to interview several high-profile guests. I call them high-profile because they're very well known. And people, but they're just, to me, they're just friends. But I mean, I know them. But it's everything was moving, and then the train just went off the tracks. And now I've had to try to pick up the pieces, and it's a mess. Somebody says it feels like spiritual attack. Yes, Angela, it does, and I think it was. Yeah. I had a feeling that it was a curse. A lot of bad things happened. I'm not even going to get into. It wasn't even related to the COVID. I mean, things were falling apart, and then my guards were dropping like flies, and I'm going like, what is going on here? Why is this happening? How is it that me and this man, Johnny, got sick on the same exact day? How is that possible? I just don't. I think that there is a supernatural element to this, and people will say, well, you do a show called Paranormal Round Table. Of course, you're going to find a thread there. No. I recorded with Barton Nunley last Saturday. That's going to, the first of that show is going to come out on Friday, this coming Friday. And it's a real treat. I think you'll enjoy it. The first episode, we kind of talk, and we get, we're not really The first 20, 30 minutes, we're laying the groundwork, and we're talking. And then Barton gets into a lot of stuff that happened, and we talk a lot about his book, Mysterious Kentucky. Barton is a very good friend of mine, as everybody knows. But it seems like everybody knows about this curse. I was on the phone with Ken Gerhard last night for about 2 hours, and we were talking. And when I mentioned that, he was like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." So it seems like everybody knows, but me. Maybe I just didn't have it in my freaking head. Like, hey, stuff happens when somebody tries to make a documentary or write a book or make a movie about this subject. A bunch of stuff happens. Look into it. It's crazy. And no, the episodes aren't going to be cursed because I'll tell you why. We're not doing it. Elijah has put the kibosh on doing anything Bell Witch. He's not going to do anymore. And so he's going to finish up the last couple minutes of the episode he was doing, and then that's it. They're not going to do anything else. They have opted to not. And me and Johnny had agreed to do an episode based on that. I would say 2 days after that, Anthony got sick. A couple days after that, me and Johnny both got sick. A couple days after that, Nellie was sick. A couple days after that, my brother was sick. Right after that, his son was sick. And then it just goes on and on and on. Then we started having guards get sick. We're also going to talk about that, these woods are haunted things. We have a lot to talk about. So let me just make a note of that real quick so what we're going to talk about here. And then so just make sure I can keep track of it, what all we need to talk about. Sorry for the late start. I just, like I said, blood pressure problems and just not doing 100%. While I was sick with COVID, blood pressure was low. Didn't have any problems. Started getting over it. Bam. Got back in the gym last night, and then didn't get much sleep, and I had to go to the bank and do a bunch of stuff. So then I was there for 2 hours. So we had a doctor's appointment right after that, and that was tedious and time consuming. And then missed my haircut appointment, which is why I'm wearing this. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to jump right into it with Albert, because Albert's on the East Coast, and he can't just be up all night talking. So we're going to have him come on. Let me go through. And happy birthday, shout out to my good friend Joe Kirk. He lives here in Austin. Went to high school in Bastrop, not far from Austin, and grew up with a good friend of mine named Dominic, who we shared a mutual. We didn't even know that we made friends over the show and didn't even realize that we both knew the same guy. There's been so many people we've lost this year. It's unreal. He's had a lot of people he's lost. A lot of people have passed. I can't even keep up with what's going. It's just every day, every other day, somebody So it's hard to fathom what's happening. So let me get Albert on here.
Hello.
Hey, Albert.
How you doing, Josh?
How you doing?
Good, good. You sound low, but I mean,
Am I quiet? Too quiet for you? Can't hear it?
I hear you now.
Okay.
Speaker. Yeah.
All right. Well, because I don't. Can you still hear me? Can you hear me? I'm messing with you, Albert. I'm messing with. I'm like, can you hear me now?
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure what to say.
You're just like, what the heck's wrong with this guy? So well, you know me. I would joke around a lot. Like Albert. Albert is a native of you're Cuban, right? You're Cuban.
Right.
Cuban people, folks, keep them in your prayers. They need them right now. Seriously, bad. They need to be free. The thing is, you live in Miami.
Yes, I do.
Right, and so you're on the East Coast.
I've been here in Miami since 1966. Yes.
Jeez. And folks, the other day I was talking with Albert. He gave me the backstory to that and why. What happened was he got attacked by chupacabra and he swam all the way. He was so scared, and it was just attacking him, chasing him the whole way.
About 2 or 3 of them, yeah.
2 or 3 of them, and then when it got to America, it laid eggs, and then the rest is history. Now they're everywhere. And so I blame Albert for the chupacabra outbreak. Thanks, Albert. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. I send them all to Texas.
Yeah, you do. And then what happens is that like that story we were talking about, where some of the people say that they were pets, and that they had been, and I think it's an urban legend, but it's a crazy story.
After you told me that story, I started thinking about that. I go, wait a minute, it sounds kind of familiar later. And then I looked up in my files, and there's this report. Remember, it's supposedly happened in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
This case here is in 1934. This is way before any chupacabra or anything like that. And in Maya West, and it tells a story of a young guy that was playing in a field with his kite.
Mm-hmm.
He saw a UFO, and something grabbed his kite. He looked up, and it was a round sphere, like silver color. And then a beam of light shone on him, and he was beamed up. And inside, he saw a man, human-like, and a little girl. And she was playing with his kite. And then she refused to give his kite back. Now, this is where it gets really strange, if that wasn't strange enough. According to the report here, the little girl gave him a little box.
Voice is low.
And for the in exchange of the kite. So okay, he was beamed down. This is like a summary of the case, not the whole case. But then before he was beamed down, she showed him that he could play a trick with a box, and once he did that, little monkey-like creatures will come out of the box.
Whoa.
Remember you mentioned that, and they were playing around, and he did that. He brought the box down with him, which is amazing. You never, most of the time you don't hear about people getting anything from a UFO as proof. Mm-hmm. But this is back before, so he went home, and he got all his friends together, and they started playing tricks, and this little monkey type creatures will come out, and they will play around, but then they will disperse, and they will go into the woods, into the shrubs, and they won't come back. And then after a while, he stopped it because every time he played with the creatures, they will run away, and God knows, and maybe they all got spread out in Puerto Rico, and God knows what that. But this is from a book, a UFO book from Puerto Rico, and I heard it in other sources too. Pretty weird.
One of the things that I had read, and you're a big UFO person. You've studied a lot of the UFO phenomena.
Yeah.
Hold on one second, folks. Can y'all hear Albert? Because people are saying that his volume is low, and I don't know. Let me see.
I'm right here. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you great. You
Yeah.
sound fine to
All
me,
right.
but everybody's saying turn up Albert's volume. I don't know how that would work, but
I'm in here on my cell phone and the
yeah.
so I don't have any earbuds with me or anything like that. So maybe
Well,
I
one
don't
of
think.
the things that I had read was that the UFO phenomena got really big, and a lot of stuff started happening in the 40s, right after World War II. Two reasons: one was the technology that was seized, and then after that, there was three guys in particular. One of them was Jack Parsons. The other one was the guy from Scientology, and then that maniac Aleister Crowley. And it was
Right.
almost like they had opened up a portal, and they claimed, at least Parsons did, that they were responsible because we started seeing all these aliens and stuff coming through, and they had claimed, and that's the demon that Aleister Crowley had conjured, supposedly Thelema, and it looks almost like a weird looking gray with a giant
Yep.
head.
With a big head. Yeah.
Yeah, with the big head. So who knows what really happened? And so what you've done though, and I want and folks, Albert's not going to be on here real long, but because we are going to do a really long, we're going to do a comprehensive show together that'll probably take up 2 or 3 parts. And so Albert, we wanted to come on and kind of promote that a little bit, but we wanted to introduce you to Albert and who he is, and I've been corresponding with him for a while. And we've gone back and forth, and Albert's very busy, and I'm very busy. And you finally get everything pinned down and worked out. And so me and Albert had a long talk on, I think Sunday, wasn't it? We had a long talk,
Yeah.
and it was good talking to you, and we had a good talk, and we talked for a while. And one of the things that I wanted to point out was your work cannot be like I said, it cannot be overstated, and people don't realize the work that you've done and the volumes of it's unbelievable, and you've sacrificed a lot in your own personal life. Yeah.
Time and everything you could think of, but like I said, I became interested in the UFO phenomenon. Then I focused in the what we call the humanoid or
The
the
humanoid
alien,
encounters. Yeah.
and I started collecting cases worldwide. I translated them from parts like we never hear about, like Russia, Hungary, Romania, Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
South America, and I have collected in my files right now. I think I have over 21,000 cases. I publish books. I also investigated a lot of them here locally in South Florida. But anyway, in my books, I try to put in there as much as I could as far as cases, but there's just too many of them. So you can find my books. You can read my books. You'll find a lot of cases there, but not the complete one, not my complete database.
Yeah. It keeps going.
Yeah, and
Constantly.
I upgrade and correct the database daily. I've been working on it today. So.
Well, Albert, let me ask you this: when did you start? Like, what decade was it? The 40s or 50s? Which decade did you start? Where you did decade by decade by decade? It's unreal, folks. It's mind-boggling.
I just set up different time frames, and every time I found a case, I put a case where it belonged. Before 1900s, 1910 to 1920, like that.
Man.
1920, 30, yeah, but and then 40, 49, like that. And then 1900, before that, I did like let's say 18 to 1899, and then before that, I just went back into ancient history and all that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Older cases.
And
So
then
I have
you did a comprehensive, like, decade by decade.
yeah.
And you did volume after volume. Folks, you have no idea the database that this guy has created. He's a one-man encyclopedia of this stuff. And somebody asked me the other day, they messaged me and they said, if I wanted a starting point to learn about humanoids, creatures, whatever, and I said he would probably start with Albert Rosales, and they were like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how can these people not know who you are?" I'm like, "This dude is like, I mean, you did it. You did it.
But
You already did it. I mean,
right now I'm working on the 2016 through 2021,
mm,
and after that that's it. I'm stopping right there.
yeah,
Uh, I've done a lot, and like you said, I sacrificed a lot, and I correspond like with people like you all over the world. I mean, all over Canada. Just now, I was speaking to a lady in and Chile. It's just a lot. And I get information from everywhere.
hmm
Incredible amount of information.
yeah. And I think that what we're gonna do too. Albert's gonna send me a shipment of books, and whenever he comes and when we do the the pre-record, and we start dropping those for on the Fridays, we're going to do some giveaways on the books and have the Albert's going to sign them but you folks that don't get a book, you really should. And I'm not trying to sell books for Albert. I'm not making anything off of this, and Albert barely makes anything, but he wants you to know the information. You got to go out there and get his books. You got to check it out because um, I'm surprised that you're not the most, celebrated person out there when it comes in this arena because, you know, you have a group too, a group that you got.
Yeah, and I have a Facebook book, that humanoids
Hmm.
and UFOs, humanoids, and other strange incidents. And it's growing. It's a growing group right now. I just set it up recently.
Yeah,
And you remember you've been reading some of the accounts that I include there.
incredible, absolutely incredible, and it absolutely dwarfs just about anybody else's. The database you've created is unreal. Let me ask you a question. You've been dropping like pretty much every day. You put like a new humanoid encounter on that group. I like it because I read it just about every morning. I get up and I was like, oh, cool. I read it,
Yeah.
and it's just very fast. It's interesting. I mean, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he's just strictly a cryptid guy, but he really enjoys reading those humanoid encounters. Because it's intriguing.
Oh,
Um,
I do some cryptic stuff too.
yeah.
I try to do different, like wolf, bipedal wolf type creatures.
Hmm. Like we
Bigfoot.
talked about, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that when you come on the show to do the when we do the interviews. I don't say interview because I don't do interviews. I do discussions. And when you come on and we have our discussions,
Okay.
it's going to be, guys, you're going to really enjoy it, and it's going to have a lot of information. And Albert's going to give you a lot of food for thought, a lot to chew on. And yeah, we talk about the upright canines too. Because that's my wheelhouse. But
Yeah.
you know some about that, and you studied it, and like me, that might be my main subject that I've researched, but I also am very fascinated by just all of it in general. And goodness, man, I tell you, your work is like it's top notch. How long have you been? Did you say you were doing this? Like, how long has it taken you?
Look, I started up on and off in the 80s.
Man,
And right after I got out of the Navy, I started doing something. I started compiling cases, all kind of cases, not only humanoids. But then I said, no, this is too many. I have to concentrate on something, only that type, humanoids and some of the high strangeness cases. So let's say 1989, 1990, I started building the database, and then finally became computerized maybe at the end of the 90s. But it's been a long process, I tell you.
yeah, you told me you were like me right around that same time. I think it was 1998 when I got I actually got a nice PC that a friend of mine gave to me as a gift. It was
Oh
my
my
best friend. He passed in 2011, but he was a good guy. And he said, "Look, you need a PC." And then him and my brother started taking all of my stuff, the research, everything, all the stories that I'd collected, all my stories. They started putting them onto the computer, onto these hard disk thingies or whatever, and that went on for a little while, and now we get them and we put them in the digital whatever, but. And then I have a team. We pretty much all work together and we read stories, and then we're like, okay, we're going to use this. Well, what about this one? And we kick it around because it looks like, something that we can use. But the 90% of it, though, I bring it to the table, but it takes a lot of work, And
I
when,
I haven't, I had a lot of help from other researchers. They had sent me cases that we correspond, we exchange information. Like Barton Nunnally,
Mm-hmm.
Sam Gordon, Lon Stickler, as many right now to name, but a lot. But as far as compiling the database and, on paper and on the computer, that's me by myself. That's it. I try to get one of my sons to go ahead and help me out, but they're not interested. I mean, they're they're kind of curious about it, but most of my family kind of ignore me about it.
Yeah, me and Barton talked about you when we did the recording for the show. We talked for we did 4 hours and it's going to be edited down to probably 3.5, but we were on the phone forever. And and toward the end we started talking, and then your name came up, and we started talking, and Barton, because Barton's book in Humanoids is one of the greatest. I can't
Oh yeah,
even. That book is awesome. I love that book. And then
I have.
your work too is just incredible. And so we started talking, and he goes, "Man, Albert he's he'd be a good guest." And of course, I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get him on. We're gonna try and work it to where we can get you to come on and talk." And yeah, he thinks highly of you, and so that's good, because Martin's a good friend of mine, and I respect you both and the work that you've done. One of the things I was going to ask you. When we were
Okay.
talking about the little changos or changuitos or monitos, whatever you want to call them, that came out of the box,
Right.
with that, okay, that story there, and we were talking about the chupacabra and how that all came about. Beyond that, and that's a weird story. Like, what do you think is one of the
It,
weirdest? Just like give us a taste. What do you think is one of the weirdest stories you've covered?
oh, this one is weird. This one, according to the witness, he had further encounters,
Mm-hmm.
and they told him that this is as he got older, you know, that they gave him a message, and this message is kind of ominous, or I don't know, kind of strange. They said that the time of the new harvest is near. Just know this. They told him that. What that means, I have no idea, but I don't know. I don't think it sounds good to me.
Yeah.
But but as far as we are encountered, there's so many that I could right off the top of my head. I'd like to read cases about when they had different type of humanoids are involved
Mm-hmm.
working together. There's this case that I just posted on my group. I don't know if you saw it in France.
Oh man, sorry about that. That's very loud.
Okay. From November 1973. 73 was a heck of a year as far as UFO cases. There was this couple. They were parked up in a field in a place called Mairius in France. There were couples doing in a car, and then they saw what appeared to be like a sphere cut off in the middle, so that's more like a dome shape, descended near where they're at in a field nearby. And they just sat there looking at this sphere, this luminous sphere, and then kind of a door opened. And when this door opened, like 3 or 4 little figures walked out, little what they call little aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And these were your typical, more like gray type, not exactly, but they were like short, maybe 3 or 4 feet tall, silvery. They're wearing silvery uniforms or whatever. Their heads were kind of larger than normal, big eyes, slanted eyes, black. Okay, they were walking around and walking. Then after that, a minute or so later, 2 more figures walked out of the object too, and these two were men. They were like human, and these were tall men, very tall, and blonde hair. Were wearing tight-fitting blue outfits, and they just stood. They also walked around. Okay, this is your typical Nordic type
Yeah.
humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then this is the weirdest part. Soon after these two walked out, another creature came out. Now these, according to them, this creature looked like a giant ape. What
Wow.
comes to Bigfoot? Okay,
Bigfoot. Yeah.
this giant ape stood there by the entrance like a guard. According to them, they had the impression that this creature, whatever it was was guarding the entrance or was guarding the other creatures. I don't know. After a while, they walk. They seem to walk around and maybe picked up something from the ground or collect something, shrubbery, rocks, or whatever. They walk back first. The little men, exactly the way they came out. They went in first. Then the two tall guys went in, and then the ape-like creature went in. The object rose, shot away, and disappeared. The next day, the farmer that owned that field found a bunch of different tracks, different footprints, larger ones and small ones. Very interesting case, which I always thought it had been one of the weirdest.
I mean, when you oh, go ahead, Albert.
Yeah, there's so many that maybe later on we could talk at length. I could pick up some interesting cases and talk about them.
Oh my gosh, that's like I can't change it. I've been trying to here. I'm so sorry, Albert, and folks at home. Hey, it says Last Starfighter, born in East LA. Hit me up if you got a Facebook account, and when Albert's got to run, you can come on and talk about your werewolf experience in Kerrville, because I can't get a hold of the famous Phil Stern to do his story. He's super worried about his German accent. Like, he thinks it's too strong, and I'm like, dude, you talk fine. I've been talking to you on the phone, and he's got an amazing story that I told on DER and years ago, and I'd like to have him come on the show and tell it in his own words, because not many people who gave me their stories want to come on and do their shit, because that's why they gave me their story. But I have several now who are willing to come forward. One of the things that I was going to ask you about, you started out, you told me that you started out like in high school, kind of being into UFOs. That's how you got started into collecting these stories. And then it turned into the humanoids, because that's the cool part, is the creatures themselves, who or what they are.
All the old books, Jacques Ballet, Alan Hynek, the Passport to Magonia, Frank Edwards, all those.
Frank Edwards, yeah.
Yeah, all those original books on UFOs. I used to go walk around with a stack of them with me. And like I told you, they used to make fun of me. Like, they used to call me the Martian.
The Martian. Yeah.
So here I am. A lot of those people have that I knew from high school had later on in life, they had incidents themselves. So.
Well, if you give it enough time, I mean, stuff can happen. Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, and you're talking about Frank Edwards, man. I used to have a couple of his. He had, like, I forgot what the some of the books that he wrote. He had written like strange.
UFOs here and now.
Yeah,
I think that's one. And some kind of he used to write like strange something stories.
Yeah, strange stories, strange world. I don't remember all of his books, but I remember having like several of them, and I just remember like going over it, and he had like one that was black and it had like the red lettering on it, and I had those. And then when I sold a bunch of my books, because I had too many books everywhere, and so I had to, and I think I had one of yours too, Albert, and I lost it, and I think it got sold, and I was very angry, and I talk about this with Barton. I had his first edition of Inhumanoids, and it got lost. But then months later, when my brother was doing a deep clean, him and my nephew, and we were all cleaning the house, and it had fallen behind, maybe by one of my cats, or maybe one of them fools, or somebody, a dog, who knows. But it got chupacabra. There you go, chupacabra, mentiras. But yeah, whatever. But but it fell behind the book, and then when we found it, my brother's like, "Here it is, right here," and so, me and Barton kind of laughed and talked about that, and when we recorded, but it's hilarious because that book was back there forever, and now Barton's telling me it's worth like thousands of dollars. I said, "Well, we sign that, and we'll donate the money to charity,"
It's weird because when my books briefly went out of print, well, maybe there's 6 months. When I changed publishers, I looked up in Amazon and saw and the paperbacks, it was crazy. They were they were asking for like $800, $900. I go, what is this shit?
It's crazy.
$900 for a book. Come on,
Yeah.
And and whoever's selling that is making all the money themselves.
Well, that's what they were doing with Barton's book, and they're like holding
Yeah,
it hostage, you know. And then I know that I had talked to Nick Redfern a while back about some of his earlier books, and he had said, yeah, he can't even get them, you know, some of them. And then
yeah,
you authors yourselves, you know, it's such a shame because you guys do so much work and you put so much into it, and then you kind of get screwed on the back end because, you know, in the end you're not making all that money like you really should be, you know. And so, anyways,
well,
folks, I'm going to be getting some books from Albert, and he's going to sign them, and I'm going to give them away as giveaways to you guys, so you will understand what kind of work this guy has done. One of his books, you if you pondered over every story, you'll be sitting there till the end of time on one volume, just going like, "Wow!" Trying to wrap your head around it all. It's unreal, and
you know, it's impossible to say. I'm not saying all of them are legit, but they're all, you know, maybe whoever was involved in that encounter is convinced that that's what happened to them. So I think that every story has to come out, and,
mm-hmm.
and if you had an experience, the best thing you can do is talk to somebody about it and let people know that it happened. You know,
Yeah.
Email you, me, you know, whoever.
And we're building a network too, folks. The thing is, Lyle Blackburn and me have decided we're going to partner up doing the action figure thing. And Albert, you'll probably come out as one soon. And so,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, you, Barton Nunley, you know, the late Johnny Henderson, unfortunately, what happened with him, that's just, it's tragic. But then, you know, Ken Gerhardt, my friends David Weatherly, Nick Redfern. I look at you guys as like the standard, the gold standard, and I just would like to. I'm going to be writing a book toward the end of the year when I get a chance, and I'm going to be getting help from the great Nick Redfern to kind of show me what, you know. And it is going to be a Dogman based book. And Ken actually gave me permission last night. Because I had thought about the essential guide to Dogman. And then Ken last night, we were talking, and Ken, bless his heart, he says, "Hey, what about calling it the Essential Guide to Dogman?" And I said, "Well, Ken, I didn't want to do that because you have the Essential Guide to Bigfoot." And I thought you would think, "Hey, man, this guy's over here, playing off of me," and then, my title. And so I didn't want to rip it off. And he said, "Dude, no, man, that'd be great." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I had mentioned to him that, I was going to have you, and he was like, "Man," he goes, "that guy's done a lot of work." Everybody knows, the people in this field anyway, definitely recognize you and know that you've done a ton of work, and you're not out there like really promoting yourself. You're just kind of a normal guy who's really, really interested in this. And that's why I
Right.
thought, man, this guy's unsung. There's another guy that's kind of like you. He's a podcaster. And I think he's in the chat. I think I just saw him. Jason Bland. Folks, Jason Bland, his voice sounds great. I love listening to Jason. Jason is an awesome dude. I was on the phone with him last night or the night before. My days are just running together now. Ever since I got over that COVID, like I was telling you, Albert, I was so excited. I was just talking and getting things done, and
Yeah.
so talking to you, I had kind of put on the back burner along with him too because of the COVID. But I think you guys are unsung in a lot of ways, and it doesn't take away from anything that the other guys did because
Well,
everybody knows them. But you guys just, man, it's got to be. People got to know who you are. I mean, y'all are amazing at what you do.
I think that I feel compelled to do this. I've been compelled to do this for years now. I think I'm hoping it's important that it is for the future. I think that's what I hope for. That's all I can hope for. That maybe somebody might find it interesting and helpful. That's all I can say.
And that's what I love about you. You guys, the guys that I mentioned. None of us are making a bunch of money at this. Okay, first of all, people get this misconception. Okay, I was on TV Friday, and people think that I got paid a bunch of money to do that. Dude, I did that as a favor to Michael Sheehan, who's a friend of mine. Because I had a guest lined up for him, and she couldn't do it. she literally got so scared because she came on my show eventually and told what was going on. It was a Dogman encounter out here in Central Texas, and she was terrified of it. She was so scared to even talk about it. And that interview ended kind of weird, and I had to call her and say, "Hey, are you okay?" So anyways, she didn't want to talk about it on the air, and so she says, "Oh, I'm in a bit of a problem here, Josh, and can you help me out?" And they really wanted me to do that Church of the Forgotten, so I did it, and it wasn't like I was like, "Oh, I'm going to make some money there." People think that, and it's completely wrong. It is completely not correct. These people that are doing this, folks, they're doing it because they're passionate about it. Albert isn't making a bunch of money at this. He's doing this because he's passionate about it. He was in law enforcement for years, and that was his job, to do law enforcement.
I was criticized a lot because I made the books. I go, well, because I used to have a database online, UFO info. You could go in there and read all my cases. I don't know if you ever saw it, but this is back in the 90s. Then when I decided to do the books, my editor told me, you have to close the website. I didn't want to, but I had to because they couldn't publish the books if the website was up. So I did. Then a lot of people criticized me for that. But hey, maybe in the future I'll open up a website again. I've been thinking about that.
Yeah, and do you, and the thing is too, your group, folks, I would encourage you to go and join the Albert's group, because he posts a different humanoid encounter nearly every day. So what is the name of your group, Albert? Tell everybody while you're on the air with me.
Okay, Humanoid, UFOs, and other strange encounters. This is on Facebook. And you'll see the like a UFO hovering over a field, because there's another group that's my old group. Forget about that one. That one's been archived. So you'll find me. Just go under my name, Albert Rosales.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jason is actually in the chat, and Jason said Albert is someone I want to get on my show. He is somebody that I would recommend you interview with. There's not many other podcasters that I like or trust that I would say, hey, you should go on their show. But Jason, I definitely would recommend Jason. Jason's a very down-to-earth guy. He's a good guy. And, we were talking last night, sharing some stories and stuff. And when Jason comes on, we're going to talk about black dogs. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, humanoids, everything. But Albert and me are going to do a show together, and I wanted to announce that. And it'll be a couple weeks from now when it airs, because Barton and me did the 2, maybe 3-part, because Barton just had so much to talk about with the Kentucky thing. Kentucky's so weird, and it's so it's haunted. I mean, there's no way to explain it.
Kentucky, Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's the cave systems, I believe, Albert. I think there's something going on with those caves. I don't know. You couldn't pay me to go down into them caves. I'll tell you right now. No. You probably wouldn't come back out, But so you're down in the beautiful city of Miami. Have been to Miami twice, and it was a trip. All I did was drink and go to clubs, and I barely remember. Went to the Keys. It was just whirlwind trip, and then we're back. And then went down there. The second time I went down there, and it was more. I had to go with some friends to help them do some stuff, and we didn't really have as much fun. But it's definitely a fun city. Then it's a nightlife there like you wouldn't believe.
That's what I did in the 80s. I was like crazy.
Did you watch that documentary on Netflix? The 2 guys that were selling the perico down. You know what I'm talking about? They were I don't want to say the name, but the cowboys, the vaqueros or whatever. They were those 2 guys. They eluded capture forever. I'm sitting there going like, geez, these Cubans, man, they're crazy, man. And yeah, it is crazy. Albert, I'm gonna let you run, man, because I know you had said earlier, you had to, you had a headache and everything. You weren't feeling too good, and I appreciate you still jumping on though.
Give me your email. Send it to me on Messenger so I can send you some files so you can read up.
Sure, absolutely, and also, if you send, let me know about the books so that I can get some ready for whenever you come on, and then we can do the giveaway with the books or whatever. And give me a few pictures of you so I can get you started as an action figure, because I for my own collection, and then I would like to have that. So
okay.
Yeah, man, and then I'll send you one too. Albert, I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for your time, and I know that
So
time is valuable, and we're going to be doing a collaboration soon, so folks, be ready for that.
send me the email, okay? All right,
Yeah,
take care
I
now.
will, Albert. All right, man.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So, folks, that was Albert Rosales, a good friend of mine. Take his headphones off. Ooh, hair gets... I was slated to have a haircut today. I was scheduled to get me a haircut at like 4:30, and then just slept through it. I couldn't. I was so tired and so out of it, and still trying to get over fatigue. I actually did a full upper body workout last night, and I'm really sore, but I couldn't do normal weight. I had to take it easy. One of the things that Lyle Blackburn had COVID before me, and he told me that he went into the gym and he started lifting and he got lightheaded. He was on the phone with me and Barton Nunley, and he was telling us that, and I go, "Oh no," I said. So it was suggested to me by two different physicians that I lay off for about 2 weeks after feeling those symptoms. I laid off for a little over a week and a half. So I think I did the right thing, and I'm not sick or symptomatic in any way. I haven't been contagious, and I've tested negative, so for 2 weeks I'm fine. So you know, somebody say keep it. If I don't cut this hair, man, it grows. Like I don't have hair like a 46-year-old man. I have hair it just grows, dude. So I have to cut it, and yeah. So, anyways, my wife really liked his shirt, so I got it. And so now it looks cool. It's got the anchors on it. So I thought, this is a cool shirt. I'm going to wear this. I'm going to tell you guys something. A couple things that I wanted to talk about. The episode that I did, like I said just now to Albert on These Woods Are Haunted, it was kind of a fluke. It wasn't planned. It wasn't like planned out. Like, hey, I'm going to go and do this. There were some things that happened that led to me doing that show, and I really had already done it on my show, so I didn't feel the need to be on TV to do it. I was just like, well, I've already done it. Why do I need to go? But like I said, Brenda had kind of left Sheehan in a lurch, and I don't blame her because her experiences were very traumatic. And eventually she came on my show and talked about them. But when somebody has traumatic experiences like that, I mean, stuff happens, and so she, just didn't feel up to being on camera to do it. So she had hit me up and asked me to step in, and so I did, and I did the Church of the Forgotten, and it ends up being the first episode of the first, and the first segment of that episode too. And so they led with that, and when I think they put their best foot forward, so they came out pretty good. Although I look horrible, I'm like, I look terrible on that. I don't know what the heck, but anyways, a couple things I wanted to go over here. If anybody's got a story they want to tell, they want to come on, and because Phil stood me up. I'll remember this, Phil. Believe me, trust me. I got a long memory. You have betrayed me, Renfield. And so, I'm going to try and write a song because I like Lyle Blackburn's music. If anybody doesn't know, he's got Ghoul Town and Drink with the Living Dead and Elvira and Phantom Moon. Those are really, really good songs. In particular, I love, my wife loves the Elvira song. I like it too, but I really like Drink with the Living Dead. It's a great song. So I was thinking, I don't know how Lyle will feel about this, but I'd like to write a song and he can look at it and see what he thinks. But I want to write a song about werewolves or Dogman, but I just don't know how to go about doing it. So I was thinking, it's got to be easier than writing a book, right? Um, so I was just thinking I'm going to write that and see if Lyle can if he's interested in playing it on his next album. He might just look at it and go, "What the heck is that?" You know. But I was thinking that because he's only got one. It's Werewolf on Wheels, and I think it's like about werewolves on motorcycles or something. And we were talking about it, and I told him I don't like motorcycles. He's like, "Why?" Well, I told him, I got on a motorcycle one time in my life, folks. I was 16, and I drove it off into a ditch, and I hit like this culvert, right before you hit that, there's like a steep ditch, and I hit the ground right there in front of that culvert, and then I flipped. And as I was flying through the air, I was like, there was like this, as the Japanese call it, satori. You're sitting there, it's just like everything goes into slow motion, and you're looking up at the sky, and you're going, and it's like, "Hello, darkness, my old friend," and then you know, are my feet ever going to touch the ground again? And so after that, that was it. Um, I just was not. I wasn't going to get back on one, and I rode a dirt bike when I was like maybe 13. Had fun on that. It was great. 13 or 14. Never rode one again. I don't know. The opportunity has never presented itself, but the motorcycle thing I just can't do. I was just terrified of it. So I'd like to get him to write a werewolf song just about werewolves, not the motorcycles. Let's leave the motorcycles out. Not against anybody that loves motorcycles. You like motorcycles. If you like motorcycles, you want to ride them, you would not want to do that here in Austin because people drive absolutely bonkers. One of my workers was going to work today, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and he had to be there by 6, and two guys got out and tried to beat him up while he was in his car. He's doing a fire watch, and he wasn't wearing a uniform or anything like that. And they just, people are nuts, man, and they get road rage real bad because people drive terrible here. I don't know what it is, but Anyways, I am going to work on that. If anybody has any ideas for a werewolf song, that maybe we could beg and plead and pressure Lyle into incorporating into his next album, send it to me. We'll see what we got. But you're going to have to be willing to let Lyle, sing it and have it, and it's his song. Yeah, Curtis, people drive crazy everywhere, but not like here. I mean, unless you're here and you really experienced Austin's traffic for a couple of weeks, you just don't know. You don't understand. And yes, it has something to do with the population growth and everything else. But let me tell you something. It's been happening since '91 since I've been here. So this isn't a new phenomenon. Austin has always been terrible. People would come here from other places, back in the early '90s, and they'd be like, "Man, y'all drive terrible." It's just awful. Werewolves of Austin. There you go, Christian. That's a good one. So if anybody has a Facebook Messenger, that's the easiest way for us to do it, to call. If you have Facebook Messenger and you want to tell a story, let me know, because like I said, my buddy Phil just he abandoned me. I really thought he was going to step up to the plate and tell his story today. Well, Angela, tell your dad to start working on a song. My brother said he's going to try and do it too. I'm going to try, see what I can do. I don't know how good I can do it, but we'll see what happens. Because Lyle's band Ghoultown deals with a lot of weird, stuff. If you've never seen the official Elvira video, you should go and watch it. It is actually really cool. It's a cool thing. Yeah, Curtis, you just made a good point. I'm going back here and reading some of these comments I might have missed. He said, "I think Josh is looking at this wrong. You're becoming rich in friends and networking. Sometimes that's something money can't buy." You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like I was corresponding with Lauren Coleman right before I got sick, and I was thinking, man, I'm really actually, corresponding with Lauren Coleman. I mean, it's an amazing thing to be able to talk to people that you never thought you would talk to. Plus it never really crossed my mind when I'd read a Ken Gerhardt or a Lyle Blackburn book. I never thought that I was going to be friends with him. That wasn't like a goal or anything. But Ken, actually, I reached out to him years ago, and he answered me because he's such a nice guy. That he answered me, and so that's something. And he was one of the only ones that I'd ever reached out to. And then I remember, when I first reached out to Barton, and Barton answered me too. And that was a couple years ago when I was first getting started. And I wanted to know about his books. Actually, it might have been even before, about 3 years before I started doing my show. I was asking him because I wanted to get a copy of that in Humanoids because I had lost mine, which subsequently was recovered. But I was like, I lost my book, and to find out now that thing's worth like thousands of dollars, that's just crazy, man. I see Jason. Jason's calling. Jason, let me call you if you want to talk. If you want to call in, let me call you on Facebook because I won't be able to do it over the phone because we're doing it through Facebook Messenger. Let me hit him up real quick. Let me get these ridiculous headphones back on. And let me try to call my friend here, Jason. I don't know if you folks know who Jason Bland is, but I think one day you will. He is he's got a great show. I like it. He's one of the only ones I listen to.
Hey, man.
Hey, Jason. What's going on, bro?
Hey, so I figured if you wanted me to call in, I could tell you what happened last night after we got off the phone.
Oh, okay. What happened?
So I don't know if this has anything to do with all the weird stuff we were talking about last night, but so I'm getting ready for bed and putting stuff away. I had my cabinet open. There's got three shelves, okay, and I hadn't even started putting anything away. I just opened up the cabinet, hadn't touched a single thing in the cabinet, and this water bottle, which is a Michigan City Wolves, where I'm from, Teams of the Wolf, bottle, flew out the door. Like, it didn't just tumble and fall. It like flew out of the cabinet at me. I go, okay. Now, I know a lot of people don't know who I am, but I've had a life of weird, and I accept that things follow me home sometimes. Things have happened in this house before. It's not really haunted, but things happen. But I speak out loud because that's what I've learned to do in these situations. I'm like, if there's anything here, you're not allowed to be here. If you have no good intentions or no good benefit to me, get out. I waited. The hair on the back of my neck stands up because I just I don't know, am I freaking myself out? But this is part of the course for my life. I start to turn to my refrigerator to open the refrigerator door, and I would say 5 inches from me. You see I had a peripheral eye because I just turned. I see a full body mist, almost figure-like, go right by me.
Wow.
So what that's about, it was right after we got off the phone.
Yeah, and that and funny that it was wolf, because we
Yeah.
were talking about black dogs and werewolves, and that was kind of the conversation that we were having.
And like, it could have picked any. There's a ton of cups and other stuff that could have been thrown. It picked that. And I'm like, I was just on the phone with a guy who goes by the moniker of Wolf.
Wolf. Yeah.
Like, what is it trying to tell me? What am I being told here?
Yeah, well,
I'm looking for meaning already. Like, I don't even know if it's paranormal, but So after I saw the figure, I'm like, okay, that confirmed that was not just this thing coming out of the cabinet in a weird way. This is something. And I found that really weird. It was our like second phone conversation we've had.
Mm-hmm.
That happened the weird the first time, but that wouldn't be the first time I've had an experience with a radio host and something I see walk through my house. So
Wow. Yeah, let me ask you this, Jason, because
Yeah.
we corresponded quite a bit, and then we finally started talking, and we've had, like I said, a couple conversations now, and me and you are going to do a collaboration. We're gonna have you on the show too, and you've been doing this podcast thing for a long time. You've had some pretty prestigious guests. You've had L.A. Marzulli. I think he's awesome. You've had some good guys on there and gals, and you, of course, you've interviewed Linda. That was another person that we both have interviewed, and we talked about that. And I think that when you come on the show and we do the Friday live pre-record, I think it's going to be great. People are going to love it because of the subject matter we were getting into.
Which is like about everything.
Yeah, but in particular, the black dog thing was really, there was some creepy stuff being talked about, and I was sitting outside in the dark, and I'm like.
At work, I was doing my wrap up, and I get to sit in the office, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw on you because you gave me a couple shows to go check out from your past, and I listened to the Beware the Dog episode. Man, it makes my imagination go wild.
It is crazy.
Yeah, and
2 months it took me, Jason, to get all that together. It took me 2 months to get that hour worth of material because they were so apprehensive to talk about it. The husband, not so much. His wife is like she was kind of apprehensive, and she would come on and
some very personal things that happen. That's I could see why, because when you said, I think you had said they originally were going to like come on the show and interview him, but then they changed their mind. For her, that there's some very personal things you don't want to put a lot of people. I think most people wouldn't want to put their name on. Like they don't want. That's why people don't talk about these things. A lot of times they're very personal. I had the one experience you'll have to probably, I got to check out. I saw you had an episode on shadow people. Got that on my favorites list to watch or wish list to watch, whatever, watch later.
Yeah.
That's my main experience. I've had a lot of experiences. I've had a weird life, but the one that changed me the most, the one that like really scarred me and realized that there's bad things out there, it was my shadow person experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was one of the things that drove me to the brink of destruction almost.
Oh my gosh. They definitely are harbingers of a darkness, of an evil. And there's people that have told me, oh yeah, I see them all the time, and I don't make no big deal out of
I think
it.
ghosts are shadow form.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there's two different things. They're two different, there's different ones.
So totally.
Yeah.
That's where the misconception comes in.
Well, let me ask you this, Jason, because I wanted to talk to Elijah Henderson about this, and he's going to come on the show at some point too. But me and Elijah were talking about the curse of the Bell Witch.
Yes, and I thought about that. I wasn't going to bring that up because that was like the first thought in my mind. Was that a warning? We talked about that quite a bit, and I brought up some stuff I found interesting about the Bell Witch. And I'm like, and I was thinking, God, I haven't done an episode of the Bell Witch, and I've been fascinated since childhood. And that happened. I was pretty much the thoughts going on in my head. I didn't want to talk about it because I'm afraid I'm poking the bear more. I was going to tell you that one in private, but yeah.
Well, and I was on the phone last night with Ken, and when I was talking about the Bell Witch thing, and then I was doing the timeline, I was going like, me and Johnny talked about it. We decided, okay, we're going to do a show. It's going to be. We're gonna bless you. We're gonna touch on the LBL, and then we're gonna hit that, and we're gonna do that. Because that was a documentary that they had made, and then all of a sudden, 3 days later, 4 days later, whatever, we are both sick with COVID at the same time, and then some other stuff went down, and I'm not going to talk about it unless his son Elijah is willing to talk about it. Yeah. But I was told about the curse, and so while I was telling Ken about that last night, he was just kind of going like, like he already was aware of it. And then Barton, he had told me when we were done recording, he said, there's a curse on that, and he goes, and it's a good thing you didn't do the show with them, and it never happened. And I was like, you're kidding. And I started thinking about it, and I said, you know what? I've heard of that, but it just was in passing. And then all these things that had happened to me, and I'm going to tell everybody on the air right now what happened. I was waking up every day with thinking of my mom. My mom was in my head. It was like she was there. And then at one point I prayed to God, and I had my eyes closed, and I had this weird image of some sort of crone looking, I don't know what it was. And I didn't put two and two together. And then I asked God, I said, God, please, in the name of Jesus, send this curse back to wherever it came from. And I'm not joking. This isn't a joke. I'm not playing. A couple days later, I started feeling way better, and I started pushing and getting well. And I just I came out of it, and it was just gone. And then I just had a little bit of a cough, and then it was gone. And unfortunately, Johnny passed away. And there's some stuff that surrounds that too, but I'll let Elijah tell it in his own time, his own words.
That's why I didn't want to the Bell Witch. I was afraid, like, I know you haven't talked about it so much yet, so I was like, I was going to tell you that in private. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I know a lot about the Bell Witch, and
me too.
It's serious stuff, people. I mean, it's historical. Andrew Jackson. This phenomenon.
Oh yeah, he was the president, and he got chased out of there, and he was a Battle of 1812. He was like a bad dude, and then he goes, I'm not afraid of that, and he goes over there and he gets chased away. And one thing that we talked about was how the phenomena started with the Skinwalker Ranch, okay. And I know a couple people from there, and I'm planning stuff with them too. But I was thinking, let them talk about it. But the Bell Witch. And then, of course, the Skinwalker Ranch both started with what, Jason? We talked about
a beast in a field.
That's right.
What I call it.
Mm-hmm. A hairy beast that was
always
in the
found
field.
That interesting.
Yep.
Always found that interesting, that connection.
And so you're sitting there going like, what the heck? I always thought that was weird. That was a weird kind of sidelight to it. Now, here's something I'm going to tell you, Jason, and my fans that are listening, and listeners, whatever. I don't like calling them fans. I like calling them listeners because, you guys are like, I'm not your fan. You're not Troy Aikman or Tom Brady, But
or Instagram star.
Yeah, you're not. I'm not a famous whatever. But the thing is, my listeners, I'll tell you, I did a case in outside of my hometown, little bitty spot on the road. It has a name. It's a town, but it's like nothing. You can drive through it. You wouldn't even know you drove through a town. But right there outside of that little bitty town, which is probably, I think, southeast of my hometown, I did a case where they were, and I did this on DER, on Dogman Encounters, but I would like to redo it and renew that and talk to them again and maybe get them to come on and actually tell it in their own words, be even better. But they had their son seeing a werewolf-type creature in the window. And it was to the point where the kid was opening the window and talking to this supposedly imaginary creature. Then one day the mom and they were having poltergeist activity, all kinds of weird stuff, screams in the middle of the night. It was nuts. She's walking down the hallway and she's like, who are you talking to? And he's like, my friend. And he points and she sees this creature in the freaking window with this humongous snout and head, and it's got the hands. She goes, you won't believe it, Wolf. She's like, the hands were like human looking but wolf like, hands. And I know what she's describing. It's a Dogman, and it was leaned over the window, and it was looking at this little kid's drawing of it. And she said that when she saw it, it turned, looked up at her, and just growled, and then the eyes started to turn like a dark like color, like a yellowish amber, whatever. And she said it was like immediate evil came off of this thing, and it growled, and the growl was so loud that even the little boy got scared and crawled under the table. And then she flew back into the wall of the hallway. Well, she couldn't convince her husband that this was going on. She's like, I can't stay here. The blender's coming on by itself. The washing machine is flipping around, She's like, there's something wrong. And he's like, I don't see anything. And when I talked to him, even in person, he was very nonchalant about the whole thing. It was just like, oh, yeah, well, I've seen shadows. Oh, yeah, well, that giant wolf creature, my brother-in-law shot at it, And I'm like, what? Like, he's not even, it's not connecting,
Yeah.
And then eventually it culminated with him going outside one day, and this thing was out there, and then he ran back in the house, and then if I remember correctly, and then it tried to tear the door down, and he had to run to his truck, and so of course he admitted then that there was an issue there, and and there was a shadow being that would walk up and down the hallway. And this Dogman, werewolf, whatever you want to call it, this entity was communicating with the little boy and telling him that he was going to protect him from the shadow, that he needed to come outside and play with him at night. And luckily he never did. And, and the kid, he was just a normal kid other than the horrific things that were going on. And so one of my family members actually who knew these people, they asked the kid in front of the mom, and she told me what her results were, but she said, I talked to him and I asked him, she's like, does this wolf, your friend that looks like the wolf, does he, do you think he would hurt you? And he goes, not at first. And that was his response, and I'm like, "Oh God, that is so
crazy."
Yeah, that tells you right there, like what the outcome probably would have been. You would never seen the kid again, and then of course, and then she went to live with her mom, and of course, the dad had decided that he was going to stay there. I'm not scared of this crap. And then of course it culminated with him thinking he was going to be killed, and he confessed to me that he was in denial, and that he had actually seen it once before near the barn, but he just didn't want to tell his wife, and he didn't want to admit that he was wrong. And I'm like, you went through all that hell because you didn't want to say, hey, I'm wrong, you're right. Sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes wives are correct. It happens once in a blue moon. But my God, I'm kidding. Nelly, please don't. Don't lock me out. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Okay. Wives are always right. We're always dumb and we're wrong. Okay. But Jason's like, I'm not touching that.
Nope.
But it was just so crazy because she was telling him at the scream at the top of her lungs, I'm not going to live here. There's something wrong with this place.
You know what that's like? That's like Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Wendy's trying to tell him stuff's going, like, I didn't see anything in that hotel room, even though he made out with a nasty hag.
Weird hag,
like, nothing. It's like, you jerk.
And that happened a lot more than we want to admit. I did a show one time where we talked about, in one of the episodes, where I think it was me and my old co-host, God rest his soul, who passed of COVID, but we did a show and we talked about women's intuition, and we came up with kind of a theory. Is how women actually can sense these things better than men, or before men. Their sense is kind of the canary in the coal mine, and then of course you got women that are, I'm not gonna lie, they're just like men. They'll be like, oh, they're hysterical and saying this is, and men do the same thing. I had a guy who was a truck driver, and he's like, I thought I saw, I ran off the road and it was a beaver, and I was like, what, and he goes, well, it was really big, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's and he said he nearly wrecked his, and I'm like, well, that's hysterical. You're thinking you're seeing things everywhere, and it does happen. But for the most part, if you look at the history, it does tend to be men being in denial, because I lived in a house that was haunted as a kid. Now, I didn't have a lot going on with me there. I had weird feelings, and I saw something weird right before Thanksgiving with my cousins, but it really affected the women in the house more than the men, because it kind of went after them, my mom, my sister, and everybody. And my dad was in complete and utter denial until one night, because he was on the graveyards at that time at the power plant. He was there by himself during the day. We were all at school. My mom was at work. She was a manager of a grocery store. My mom and dad were both workaholics. And so I was a latchkey kid. And so anyway, my dad was there, and he, the next day, he's like, we're moving. And I go, okay. And he goes, he gave us a deadline too. It was like Wednesday. And he said, we're out of here by Sunday. If you can't pack all your stuff by then, we're done. We're out. And I remember it was the middle of the month, and looking back as a kid, even at that age, I was cognizant that we were leaving in the middle of a month, and I'm going like, wow, this is crazy, because, we moved around a lot, because my dad would always find a bigger and better house, because my dad was doing better and better as his job. He became an electrical engineer. And he was like, well, we're going to get a bigger place. We're going to get a bigger place. And he just kept, and it was like he just wouldn't stop. He just was determined to
He
live.
saw something.
Yeah, because he grew up poor, and so did my mother, and so they were workaholics, and money was their way out. And so eventually they
Yeah.
split up when I was young. But what ended up happening is my dad destroyed all that, but he was in denial about that place. So something happened to him. So fast forward till I was about 18, and I asked my dad one day, just very straight up asked him. I said, hey, you know, years ago when we were living out in that house outside of Rockdale, between Rockdale and Cameron, Texas, I said, what happened? Why did we move like all of a sudden? And he goes, I'm gonna tell you this one time, you know, and so he told me what had happened, and it was basically like he heard this loud crash, and then that was it. You know, he was done. You know, I'm out of
Just
here.
the crash? That was waiting for something more.
It shook the house. I mean, like it was like he thought there was an explosion or something, and he had told my mother that, and my mom had kind of verified that. And of course, he'll be in complete denial about anything because he doesn't want to deal with it. And it's not that he doesn't believe; he's scared of it.
Yeah.
And so we ended up moving, and I think that he had said one time that was the only place he ever thought was really haunted. And it did weird things. Like my mom's aunt had come over to visit, and it tried to wrap her in a shower curtain. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, I've heard that. You named a number of things. I've been a paranormal investigator since 2008, and I run into the denial husband.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
always.
More often than I run the denial wife. It's usually
the husband. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and sometimes violently in denial.
Yeah.
I've run into violently drunk, actually, and maybe possessed. The one time I had a full apparition appear. Well, not the one time. There was Primrose Road. That's a whole other story. One time on an investigation in a house that I had a full apparition with lights on appear in front of me, my wife, and one other person. Was on an investigation where somebody was losing their you-know-what over us being there. Because his wife had us there. He was originally supposed to stay out in the garage until we were done. Well, he comes back in totally sloshed and he's talking about killing us. I mean, like, going nuts. And then this full-body white apparition walks right through the dining room. I said, okay, that's it. We're done.
Oh, my God. What did it look like, Jason?
It will look like a white mist in the shape of a human figure, which I've seen before. I've seen ghosts take that kind of form. If that was a ghost, I don't know. But the energy there was really bad.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy. I had a guy, this happened out near Elgin, Texas. And I went out there. It was a few years ago, and I think I was with my brother, Scorpion. I don't know, the combination of 2 or 3 different of my friends. We would go, and sometimes we'd investigate. Well, there was a Dogman report. Here's what's weird: the husband would go out, and he had one of those like big sheds, not sheds. What do you call them? Like hangers, you know. And he was a mechanic, kind of a country mechanic. So he's out there working all the time, and he saw this, not very big either. It was probably about 5 or 6 foot. You just walk across right in front of him while him and his buddy were working on a truck. And he had a pretty good setup. He had like a lift and everything out there. I mean, he had some money invested in it, and they were starting to see this wolf-looking creature. Like I said, it wasn't real big. But when you go into his house, it felt like electricity was crawling up and down your leg all the way up to the top of your head. And his wife was like, this house is messed up. It is haunted. But it was a double-wide trailer that they had put there themselves. So it was the land.
Right. As I say, already you could say it's a land because they're seeing it outside the house.
Mm-hmm. And she said, she's like, I can't get over all the weird things that have happened to me. She's like, I was trying to chop a tomato and it flew off the, all this weird stuff. We didn't see anything, but we all could feel the creep factor, the creepiness. Well, then when I go out and talk to, and no offense, but his name was Jason too.
There's a lot of Jasons.
There's a lot of Jasons out there. And so I talked to him, Jason. I think the other guy's name was Keith, and I talked to them, and I said, "What do you think's going on here?" And there wasn't enough like information to really do like a story show or whatever. We're talking about it like this, but it's not like a show worthy thing, whatever. But we talked, and he goes, "Well, I don't believe any of that nonsense about the house being haunted." And I'm like, "Okay, so you saw a werewolf walk across your property twice?" He goes, "Nope, 3 times." 3 times. And I looked at my friends, and we were just like, "Okay, and you don't believe anything inside is going on?" He goes, "Nope." He's like, "She's hysterical." And I'm going like, and then we kind of, his friend, when I kind of pushed, to get more information, his friend's like, he kind of got kind of cocky, like, all right, that's all we got, you know? And I'm like, okay, sir, first of all, you don't live here. I don't know you, and I don't care about you, okay? And then he kind of sized me up and down, and I guess he thought better of saying something else, because we would have just beat him into oblivion at that, because I wasn't putting up with it. He was smart mouthing me. And I said, who is this guy again? And his name was Keith something, whatever. And I go, okay, well, I don't need to talk to you. And Jason told me, he goes, look, I have had nothing happen inside the house. It's just what I've seen out here. And I said, okay. So his wife, I think his wife's name was Liz. I said, Liz is having all these things happen inside the house. And you're having stuff happen outside the house because she's in the house all the time and you're outside the house all the time. So you don't think that that's connected? And he goes, nope. So that's the kind of things you're dealing with. Sometimes you're going like, what in the heck? What is the disconnect with these people? You know, I'm not one of those.
Let me ask you a question, because my curiosity in these kind of cases come to certain key points sometimes. Mm-hmm. How old was the wife?
He was older than her, like several years. And I think at that point she was like in her early 30s, I believe.
Okay.
And he was like probably 40. But that it wasn't a huge disparity, but yeah, there was an age disparity, but he treated her like anything she did or said was just stupid, you know? And it was a friend of a friend, you know, and this guy told me, he goes, hey, I know you like to, you know, investigate and talk to people who have had encounters. I got a friend who claims to have seen the werewolf, you know, and it's out there on the other side of, in between Elgin and Manor. So I went out there. At that time they lived, I think it was south of there. And in that area, close by there is a lot of Goatman activity near Wilbarger Bridge, and a lot of people claim to have seen Goatman, even a couple of my really close friends. And you drive right through that area. And he was very adamant, because he knew the stories of the Goatman. He goes, it wasn't no dang Goatman. It was a effing, you know, werewolf, you know? And I was like, okay. But he did not believe that there was anything going on in the house. I said, Jason, I was in that house for 10 minutes, and talking to Liz, and I felt like electricity all over my body, you know. And he goes, well, what is that supposed to mean? And I'm like, what do you think it means? There's electromagnetic energy. Obviously, there's some sort of spiritual. I don't believe in ghosts. He goes, I believe what I can see with my own eyes. And I'm like, well, then you're going to have all kinds of problems. It's not going to go away.
Yeah. If you saw a werewolf, but that doesn't open your mind enough to believe that maybe there's other things you haven't seen yet. But they're there. You know, you think you might open your mind a little bit, but I guess not.
Yeah, some people are just so in denial. Had this other guy, same thing, you know, like literally one of my cousin's friends told me about a guy had a haunted farmhouse, whatever, and then they had a little get together, and it was like a couple months down the road, and it was a graduation. So I went out there, and I went inside to use the restroom, and there was maybe one person in the kitchen, and I could hear him talking on the phone or something. But I went to the restroom, and it was weird. Like I could feel this really, really, really weird energy. So when I was talking to the guy's daughter's friend, then it was a graduation party. And she said that they had seen like a shadow pillar looking thing coming up out of the ground, and they had all kinds of stuff happen there, and their dad was just in complete denial about it.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely, you know.
I've run across that so much doing it. I used to do a lot of I don't do much investigations, mainly after COVID. But I used to do mainly residential cases, and I would, usually by the time I get a call is when the husband's finally seen something, and then he's like, oh. But I've had some wives say, I don't care if you haven't seen anything. I want to know if I'm going crazy, or you're going crazy, what they want to say, but they won't. And they're like, fine, bring the paranormal team in. They'll prove that you're just going, not going crazy. But, they'll come with some kind of explanation. I had one guy who had an $850,000 investment in this house. So, and his wife was bound and determined to have us prove it's haunted, because her and her daughter were saying all this stuff was going on. And he was like, I haven't had anything happen. Well, I haven't seen anything, but so he wanted me to come in. And I did find, we got, I'm really good at what my bread and butter is EVP. And, we'll sit a night and a lot of things might not happen. We had a couple weird instances there that night, but the main body of evidence I had, which was just EVPs, which I said was telling the husband, I said, doesn't prove it's haunted. We're asking for open communication. It could be just something coming through because we asked. So I don't consider this complete proof of a haunting. But I do have these interesting EVPs, and one of them was a very old, like German sounding lady, and we were trying to find out what it was saying. It was one of those few EVPs I got that was actually in reverse. I got to find it to remember what it said, but it creeped him out enough. He never. I found out this woman goes her kids go to my kids' school. I ran into her at my work actually too, and she's like, I never got that evidence from him.
Wow.
And they house she wanted him to sell it, and they sell the house, but she refuses to stay there anymore. And it has a dark history. There's one girl who went crazy that lived in the house in the 60s, like literally to the mental hospital, and it all happened one day. She was a normal girl. Next day she's running out of the house screaming, out of control, and I know witnesses to that, you know. So, but you know what? The husband also had a human skull we found in his house.
Oh man.
This is one of those times on an investigation I'm like, I'd never want to run into this problem, because one of the investigators I had at the time, it was kind of wacky. He was like, I'll take it. I'm like, no. Like, you know, but the wife's like, yes, please get it out of the house. He had stolen it, he said. I'm like, what if we know this guy had stolen this?
Yeah, how do you know he didn't just kill somebody?
Right. He's like, I was in college and I was, you know, I did it as a prank and I stole that skull from the anatomy class. I'm like, that sounds like something Ted Bundy would come up with on the fly, but okay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this, and she's like, I'll take the skull. I'll take it. I'm like, don't take that into your house. And I'm like, I don't really want us to have property of this, you know, but she's like, I don't even know if it's real. I'm like, no, that's a real human skull. And he's like, well, yeah, it is. Because we had to call him on the phone. Because I'm like, we have the skull here, you know. I'm like, I need some answers. And so she took it home, and that investigator went off the rails crazy eventually. I don't think from the skull. I think she was already crazy. So I don't know what happened to that skull or that, but that was one husband that was complete in denial and wouldn't even tell his wife what evidence he got.
Wow.
That we all that.
Where was that at?
That they got nothing. That we got nothing. He lied to her.
Oh wow.
I knew I should have known, because he said, "Don't contact her after the investigation. I want you to give it to me and talk to me first." I'm like, okay. He was the one that contacted me initially, anyway. So I'm like, okay. And I should have known better.
And Jason, where was that at? What state?
Here, I'm in Indiana.
Yeah, in India.
So this was near the dunes. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like some of the people that I've dealt with and talked to, especially Austin being such a tech valley, you know, place. It's like a Silicon Valley 2 over here.
Yeah.
And so you get people that'll tell you stories that work at IBM, Apple, Google, and you can't say anything and do anything. And I had talked to this one lady who worked for Google, and she didn't want to say her name out there or whatever, but her husband was very adamant that she not talk to us, and had messaged us, say, don't ever contact her again. We didn't contact her in the first place. Yeah. I was like, well, she contacted me, you know, and it was like, he's like, don't worry about it. She's crazy and blah, 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 because they're so adamant about, you know, not anybody finding out who they are. Oh, yeah. You know, same thing happened to me with some people who work for a very large aviation company. So they the same thing, you know, they're like, hey, I can't say my name. There's some weird things I've seen, you know, and so it's you got people who cannot, and then if you have a situation where they have a spouse who is not on board with what they're talking about, that just makes things even worse. And I've had hostility, you know, I've been met with hostility a couple times from females, though. A guy told me today that he listens to my show, and his wife doesn't like him listening to it, thinks that it's evil and bad and blah, blah, blah. And so won't let him listen to it, you know, and that's a shame. But,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the subject matter can go all over the place. Now I know with you, Jason, and when we do our show together, it's probably going to go all over the place. And I think it's gonna be a real treat for the audience, because we are both big alternate reality people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so that can go anywhere. And, but yeah, we've both had some of the same similar experiences with people and their disbelief, and it's almost like they want to proselytize to you to where you don't believe. They want to make you not believe it either. And I'm like, well,
I've always had the feeling it's a fear reaction. You know, like the put your fingers in your ears and close your eyes and it'll go away. Let's talk about it.
And it doesn't. It's still there when you put your fingers out of your ears, you know, and
it's the you know, they always say, you know, the fight or flight. Well, I also call it the fight, flight, or curiosity.
Yeah.
Sometimes people like us are just more curious when we shouldn't be. We should be on the flight path, you know, or the fight, but we're just curious to know. We want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the subjects we're going to talk about, folks, when Jason comes on and we do the pre-record, it's going to be black dogs, because Jason has had some.
All my experience with black dogs, I just have an interest in because I have a recurring dream of the same black dog in a graveyard, and a couple other instances, but it's reoccurring. It usually spells something changes or bad in life at times.
And you know,
but I've always had that fascination with black dogs because of that.
You having talked to Linda, you know, and Linda talking about the cemeteries. She's a big believer, and there's something to this, you know, possible guardians of the dead type thing, and I tend to agree with her.
This is bringing up like Anubis, Cerberus, all these mythologies involve dogs or dog creatures or half man, half dog creatures that guard some kind of gateway or portal.
Well, Hecate also, if you look at her, the Greek god of death and dogs, which is weird. Like, why those two things, you know?
Yeah. Why? What is the connection between dogs and portals to the other side, hell?
Yeah, because you wouldn't think, like, why would you have a god or goddess, whatever, that is her wheelhouse, death and dogs. It seems like it's two things you wouldn't even.
Could pick any animal, you know, peacock or I don't know.
And why? It's like, you know, it's like, well, you know, this is the god of ratchets and pineapple cake. You know, it's like two totally different things, and they don't go together at all. It's just like death and then dogs, and then. But then when you do the research and you look into it, you're going like, okay, there is a precedence for this, and it is very. Very vast, and it goes back a long ways, and they're sort of the guardians of the you know, the Aztecs. You know, they had Zolotl, you know, who was and what those entities did, the Anubis, you know, they were all canine and they guarded the underworld. That's what they did. That was their job, to keep you out or to take you in. And so, you know, that's a very weird and telling thing. We talked about the Carajo and how the black dog, but we're going to get into all that when you come on the show, and I definitely am looking forward to that. We are actually recording, I think, Friday, right? Me and you?
Yeah, we're going to try for Friday night. I already had
a
conversation with 2 boys. I said, I know it's Friday night, boys' night. I was like, but 10 o'clock or so, you guys are going to have to be quiet and do your own thing.
Well, you can always come up with some trumped-up charges and make them go to the room under the pretense of being bad or something, you know? Like,
yeah, sadly, the one kid is mini me, and he fights. He's got
That's your 5-year-old, right? Your 5-year-old?
No, my 9-year-old.
The 9-year-old, okay. Because I know the 5-year-old, you got to kind of wrangle him to go to bed.
Yeah, he's got my wife's temper. He's a little.
Yeah, and so that's cool, man. You're a dad, but you work in retail and you run a business, but you're a very busy guy like me, but you still make time to do this. And like I said before, folks, I'm going to say it again, and Jason can attest to this. You're not making a bunch of money at this. Everybody thinks that you're making a bunch of money doing this, and you're like, that's crazy. That's nonsense, because I know a lot of guys who write books and they're on TV all the time, and they're not making a lot of money. It's I
don't make any money.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you have to work it to get it up there, and like I told you, you know, when more people discover how good you are at what you do. You've had a lot of great guests and you've had a lot of great shows in what you do. I mean, it's like, I heard you one day and I was like, man, who is this guy? And Jason, I'm not telling you this because you're on my show, and I'm telling the audience, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. In fact, I listen to none, pretty much. I mean, there's nobody out there but you. And so I was like, I told my wife, I said, I was listening to this podcast, and very rarely I listened to Crypto Studies Institute because they were my friends. And then, you know, and I heard you, and I said, there's this guy, he's got a show. And I called in one day, the guy that was talking about the weather manipulation or whatever. And so
Oh,
I
remember
called
which
in
one?
and it was like, man, this guy's got a really good voice. He articulates well, and you know your stuff, man. Like you really know your stuff. Like this is you, who you are 24/7. You are somebody who studies this. You are a student of this. You know your stuff, and you're well read. And I told my wife, I said, he is just like me. I mean, he's somebody I can work with because he is very, very articulate. He knows his stuff. He's very well read. He's one of those people that has, done his homework, and you do your research. And I was thinking, man, I got to do a show with this guy and let him come on and just you just talk about your experiences, but also a lot of the knowledge that you have and the.
Well, I want to share the one I did. I want, if we do something to get out there first, I always have to start with a paranormal conversations. We'll talk about the green floating head. We should, because
Yes.
I get that story out there as much as possible, because I rarely encountered somebody who's had, maybe one person that's had that close of a experience to what I had.
And
I'm always looking for somebody else who has.
We were talking the other night about synchronicities, and like the very next day, which was weird, like you had told me about that, and I was going through my emails, and I looked back on it, though the email was actually sent, I think, a few days before, and I just ran into it, so it's not as amazing as
that was the red floating head.
It was red, yeah, it was red, and it was, but it looked like almost like if it was bloody or something. And it was just they were just sitting there, in the back of their, in the hot tub. And it was just like, oh my gosh, that was so weird. But we'll get into that whole story when you tell yours. And it's going to be a real treat. I think everybody's going to really enjoy that, and I just wish that more people, like I think you are an unsung hero in this podcast business. I mean, I think that more people need to notice you. I mean, but you're not out there trying to promote,
Every time you say podcast, I go, that's why people don't know who I am. And it's taken me 6 years, and I have a very loyal, I love my community of people that watch, but nowhere near the audience you do. But I have loyal people that have been with the show for 6 years, but it's hard to get my name out there. And one of the reasons is because I don't do a podcast. I need to. I do a live show. It's 3 hours long, and that's a lot of money to turn into a podcast to just take that show. And I'm hoping as my kids are going to school, my time frees up maybe a little more, I'm gonna start doing a podcast too, to try to get into that world more. I know that's where it's at. I know that's where a lot of people like short podcasts. I do a 3-hour show. It's not short.
No, but it's good. I mean, it's very good. And on my live stream, I go 2 or 3 hours, and then the Friday shows are an hour to hour and a half because you have to pay more for that, But we started with that formula back when I was, me and my old co-host, we came up with that, and we decided that's what we were going to do. We're going to drop one every Friday. And so coming up now is going to be Barton Nunley. But definitely looking forward to conversation with you. And what the conversations we've already had, we've talked and covered a lot of ground, and your stuff. I don't put people on here, folks, that aren't good. You know what I mean? There have been a couple people I've put on my show who I actually don't like now. I'm not even friends with them. I don't talk to them, and I just, whatever. But I honestly, I think you are a great host, and I think you're very good at what you do, and you speak so well. When I first heard you, I was on Facebook, and we became friends. I think you were arguing with somebody. I'm not going to get into what it was about. And I saw you in this group, and I jumped in, and we started kind of arguing with this person together, if I remember correctly. And then I didn't
remember.
think
I don't do it that often.
Yeah, it was something though that was not paranormal. That's why I don't want to get into it. But I kind of backed you up, and then you said something else.
I know what it is.
Yeah. And so then we were in that same group together, and so then I thought, and I didn't know who you were, but then I saw you just pop up on the thread, like how Facebook does the algorithms or whatever, and it showed your show, and I was like, oh, what is this? And so I started listening, and I've listened to several episodes, and I was like, man, this guy is good. He's got his stuff together. Like, you don't bring a guest on and be unprepared. I was actually joking with Ken about that last night. Ken and talking about how a lot of these people, they have to do these authors and researchers. They have to go to they have to go to podcasts and let people interview them on their shows. It's kind of like a chore, and you'll get the people that'll talk, and they're just like we were joking about the Chris Farley thing, like you remember that time you wrote that book? That was awesome, you know. You're sitting there going like, and it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And you're going like, and I did one show and I regret it. And thank goodness the show went under, and that podcast, that interview is lost to time, because I was just like, oh my God, this guy. And I was starting to get kind of snappy, because the dude was asking me the same questions over and over again. And I was just like, okay, it's not really, this guy's not asking me anything. I'm having to carry the whole conversation. And then you're kind of awkwardly waiting for the next question, you know, and when I've talked to the people that I've interviewed, they're always like, man, it was so painless, and I enjoyed it. I'll come back and talk to you. And, you know, and there were a couple of my guests who are notorious for not having much patience with people, and they were okay with me, you know, because we have discussions, and you're the same way. I see your style, and folks, and I'm not just saying this, Jason's a friend of mine, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you like my style and the way I do it, you can go listen to his show, and I'll tell you right now, it's smooth like butter. I mean, Jason, he's real good.
I wish I felt the same as you. I don't feel that way about my show half the time. But
well, you know, and you're your own worst critic, but that's how you get better, and you do a very good job. And I'll sit there and, you know,
the show 6 years ago. Don't go back to any of those episodes. 3 years back.
Well, that's how I feel about the first couple episodes I did out of Armando's garage. My buddy Sal, you know, we did him in his garage, and it took us 6 hours to bust out an hour worth of recording on that first episode. The audio is terrible. It only came out on one side because we knew what we were doing, you know, and we were like, well, this is our first attempt. Let's see how bad we mess it up. The stories were pretty good, and we got the information out there, but it was bad. And I used to joke with Armando all the time, man. If we stayed in that garage, we'd be dead in the water.
Mine were on Google Hangouts on YouTube back in the day, and like on an older computer where I'm like jerking, you know, like it's not in time. Like, oh, it was awful. I have trouble. I can't go back and watch my old stuff.
No.
Even though there was some crazy stuff that happened in the early episodes I had. Like we had a growl happen live on the show and crazy stuff like that. Yeah, the paranormal we always say on my show happens live sometimes. Weird stuff happens.
And it's crazy, you know, what you said about how that cup came out, you know, whatever. And of course, you know, like I said, we touched on the curse and all that. And of course, I feel like I was the last one to even be paying attention. Like you knew immediately, Ken knew, you know, Lyle knew. Barton, everybody's like, oh yeah, there's a curse. You're you know, don't do it.
Well, it is a curse.
And I'm going like, what in the hell? Where was I at? Was I asleep? And then my wife had said something about it, and I was like, you know what? I was told this before, and it just went out of my mind, you know.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with the Bell Witch is they first believed the lady, I can't remember her first name now, but it's too late. But Bell, the neighbor, was cursed them.
Yeah.
And that's why it was called the Bell Witch.
Yeah.
I mean, it was their family. The Bell family. Sorry,
the Bell family.
So I can't remember the lady's name, but that's the Bell Witch. But they believe she was a witch and cursed them. I can't think of her name right now. The woman that they believe was the witch.
Yeah, I know you're talking about, and and it was over a land dispute or something. Originally, and it was a deed, and so she cursed, you know. But now it seems to be that it follows people who get an interest in it, and if they do a documentary or they try to do a series or whatever it is, a movie, write a book, something bad happens. It always happens, and there's a bunch of people who can attest to that. And I looked it up and I started researching it, and I was like, this is not good. I'm not I'm not happy with this. And so you know, I figured it out, and then of course me and you talked, and you confirmed it along with Barton and everybody else, and I was just like, thank goodness I didn't go any further, because I really feel like there was something there that went wrong, and I think that once I was able to push it back or send it back, I think that it made the whole difference. And I honestly was thinking, Jason, and this sounds, I might have just been off the rails there with the COVID, but I was thinking somebody had cursed me, and it was one person in particular who's a fellow fighter who I trained years ago, who kind of turned on me not too long ago. And I told my wife, I said, I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe he cursed me. And then I thought about it. And then when the image I got was not of a person.
Right.
And then just to hear Elijah talking about it, and then you guys, and then Barton, and I was just like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Let me get myself out of this, So
Right.
we didn't go forward with it, and I have no plans to. And so, but that's weird, like we talked, and we were talking about wolves and werewolves and stuff, and then a cup with wolves on it comes flying out at you. That's pretty.
Yeah, I was like, is that a message? And I was thinking about the whole Bell Lips thing at the time when we were talking about, and that's when that happened. I'm like,
yeah,
is that a warning?
Yeah, like maybe we shouldn't, don't go, and let's not do any collaborations about it, but and we'll stop. We'll stop right here. But the bottom line is, folks, there is something connected to that, and I can't tell you. This isn't the first time I've come up against a curse. I had someone's grandma, or not grandma, great aunt supposedly put a curse on me. And I kind of laughed it off, and then a bunch of bad stuff happened to me. And once again, I prayed to my higher power, and I feel like it kind of got rid of it, and because everything kind of turned around in one day, which was weird. And that happened when I was 19. I got sick. My car broke down. I lost my girlfriend left me, which she wasn't a good girlfriend anyway, because she left me when everything went bad. And then, of course, lost my job. And everything went. I had my books, my college books I had, which were expensive. You're talking about the early to mid 90s, and they were $40 a pop, and they got stolen out. That's all that was in my backpack, and somebody stole them out of the back of my car, and I'm like, still my backpack, and then all they got were books, which they probably just threw in the trash. And so it was like one thing after another. And my friend, Jason, his name is Jason too, and he was a wrestler guy I used to wrestle with in high school. Good friend of mine. Had a weird experience with me and my friend Tony Duran. If you go to the one I was telling you about, the Black Dogs, Hellhounds of Taylor, Texas.
Yeah,
he was in the car with us, but he told me, he said, you remember, and this kid's name was Andres. He said Andres said that he was going to curse you. And he said that he was going to go to his tia, who was a bruja. And I told Jason, I said, maybe there's something to that, and so I don't know, this may be the second time that I've been cursed or something's happened, and then it just, but dang near killed me this time. And yeah, so I'm done with all that. I try to stay protected, and I try to stay prayed up,
The shadow person experience was like a curse because of all the things that went bad in my life when this thing was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I died, my band broke up, my girlfriend dumped me, and this thing used all that against me. And so I've always been interested in curses because all the synchronicities that I dealt with the shadow person and bad luck, and the way that curses seem to work, or cursed homes too, because I've had a couple clients that had horrible bad luck after they moved into a home that had a history of horrible bad luck for people who owned it. So I mean, it's like, how does that work? How does that energy keep spreading negativity? Is it like a virus? You're now carrying like ghost sickness or
residual
with you wherever you go. Like if you touch something, it's going to break. Don't touch your computer during that time.
Yeah. And how do you know when it's, that's the hard part is like, I had no idea that when I talked to Johnny, that would be the last conversation I had with him. And then we messaged a little bit back and forth. We were both sick with COVID at the very same time. He got it the same day I did. I mean, it was weird. It was uncanny. And then, he passed, and I just, and there was more to it. There's a lot of other things that happened, and I'm not going to talk about it unless Elijah wants to come forward. That was his father that they're going to bury on, Wednesday. So I'm not going to get into it. The viewing, I think, is Wednesday. The burial's Thursday. But bottom line, a lot of things went wrong in their lives when they started to research that subject. I know that there is a precedent for everything that we deal with when it comes to, like, it's all happened before. Like when me and you were talking about the Black Dogs and the and I don't want to give away too much because we're going to talk about it, but in Detroit, it's like that. The guy was just like, I've never heard of this. I said, I have, and it was something that had happened to my mom's family. Not my mom's family, but they were there. They witnessed it in the cotton fields. They used to chop cotton when they were kids. and my mom's, she's, you know, a Mexican and Hispanic or whatever, and she, you know, she remembers the cadejo, you know, that it would come out, and sometimes it would go after somebody, and typically it was somebody like who would put a patrico on somebody because they were like the dog was just tearing them apart, and they went and it just they had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, very weird, and so yeah. I don't know what to think of that. But when you come on the show, we're definitely going to talk, and we're going to talk, and it's going to be, yeah, we're going to do it, folks. So, Jason, I'm going to jump off, let you jump off and get to bed. And you got to work retail. You got to get up and go do what you got to do tomorrow. And but thanks for dropping in and talking. It was a pleasure, you know, and I appreciate you dropping in.
Oh, thanks for having me talk. I figure you're saying anybody call in. I'm like, well, I'll call in now.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you what happened.
Yeah, and now we've both called into each other's show, so.
Exactly.
All right, Jason, man, you have a good night, brother.
You too, bud. Bye.
All right, bye. So, folks, that was Jason Bland. He's got a show called Paranormal Soup, and it is a darn good show. I can tell you that. I don't listen to podcasts. I just do not. Very rarely will I come across something that I'm going like, hey, you know what? I'm going to listen to this, and it's, you know, Jason's one of the only ones that I ever really even bother to give any attention to. But give me your opinions right here, guys. Give me your opinions on Curse. What do you think? I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, Keith Jackson. The burial's Friday. I think they said the viewing is Wednesday. I think that's what he said. I got to look. Elijah sent me the information. Been so wrapped up and busy. Oh boy. So it looks like Phil's a no-show. Phil, I'm so disappointed in you, sir. I know you don't want to talk because you think your accent's too thick and it would annoy people, and it is, and it would. But still, the bottom line is you should show up. Okay? Come on. I don't care that you're in Germany and your timelines, your times are different. Come on. So many things to talk about, so many things to do, and you can't even remember them all. So, like I said, folks, Friday, I got Barton Nunley. We talked about a lot of stuff. Kentucky, his home state. And we went over it and over and over it. And he just, there were just so many things. Somebody just said, Nike Snow said, I heard Austin is cursed native grave site. What natives are in Austin? The Comanches. Arguably the meanest and most aggressive of all the natives. They were just very, very, very violent. I mean, bad. There's a lot of bad stories about them. And I'm part Comanche, so can I come by it honestly? So my brother just gave me a weird text. Oh man. Hopefully next time you see me, I'll have a haircut, and it won't look like this. Look at this. I'm just gonna grow it out like Squid and Starscream. Starscream, Squid, if y'all are listening, I'm just gonna let it grow out, man. Like my buddy, the wrestler Lance Hoyt, flowing locks. No, I won't do that. I'm sorry. Can't do that, man. I had it down to my shoulders at one time, and it drove me nuts. Absolutely drove me nuts. Oh, boy. I can give you guys a quick Dogman story if you'd like. But I need a bunch of people to say yes. Nobody's saying yes, so I guess it's not going to happen. Cassidy Rose says, man, I'm late. Hey, everyone. Yes, you are late, young lady. You have missed Albert Rosales. Jason Bland came on. We've talked about curses and Dogman, everything you could think of. And you've missed it. You have to go. Now you have to go back and listen to it once we drop it. Let me tell you. You missed it, okay? And I'm not going to sit up here and just redo everything for you, Miss Lady. What we can do, though, is call the Dogman Whisperer, and he can lay it down for you. Wow, Nina, I would stay clear of her. Anybody who's going around putting curses on your friends, when is it your turn? You know. All right. So anyway, I got a Dogman story. I got a bunch of them, but I got this one. I thought it was pretty interesting, and I would throw it out there on the show. And sometimes I feel like when I tell stories later in the game on the show, it's kind of a waste because people don't even get that far into the live stream to hear it or whatever. But here goes. Guy was driving down the road, and he saw a wolf-like creature on the side of the road. It's in Nebraska. Well, hope you enjoyed it. It looked like a wolf. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed the show, the story. I'm just kidding. That's the beginning of it. What happened was, and this person, he's like, Phil, maybe I can get him on the show. Maybe I can't. I'm trying to get certain people to come on the show and tell their stories in their own words. But that was the beginning of it. They were driving home, and there were cornfields, because Nebraska's full of cornfields. It goes without saying, And they were the way when they turned down their drive, there's cornfields on either side, but not real long. They said they weren't like there's not like children of the corn. It's not like rows and rows of corn. He who walks behind the rows is in there. No, they turned into their drive, and there's cornfields on either side. They only stretch for about 50 yards on either side. It's not like, but something darted out in front of their vehicle, and literally went under the vehicle and lifted the vehicle up off the ground, and then it went back down. Now think about that, folks. Something was big enough, and they just saw it crawling really low to the ground, and the wife it was a couple. The wife had a pretty good look at it. These are country people. I mean, they're farmers. They're not going, they don't think, they don't know what the heck they're dealing with. Goes up underneath the vehicle, and it lifts it up. This vehicle was an SUV. They own a truck and an SUV. So whatever it was large enough to do that. And then there were two other incidents, and it's an ongoing thing. And I may have to do a whole thing on this if it keeps happening. Guy was walking out to the barn, and he sees the door fly open, and then he sees a weird looking arm. If you can imagine that, hand, arm, hairy, full of hair, with claws pull it closed. And when he shined his flashlight, he saw, as the door was closing, he saw a wolf-looking head. Now get this. He said the eyes were almost like he said they were red, but they were reddish orange, the way he described it. And he said it wasn't like piercing red, glowing eyes like Mothman, but he caught the glimpse of it, and he was like just so startled. He said, I just stood there. And I was about 30, 40 yards, and I just stood there, and I was like, I'm going to have to turn and run. But he goes, I was just too shaken up. I couldn't even move. It was like I was like, well, were you like hypnotized? No, I wasn't hypnotized. It was just there, and I just stood there, terrified. So he turns and he doesn't run. He just said he walked back toward the house. He kept looking back over his shoulder to see if it was following. It wasn't. And then one night the dogs were barking, and they had a dog run. And so they would let the dogs out and they would go run around, whatever. Well, one of them goes into the cornfield because they had a huge bunch of cornfields on the other side of the property, like hundreds of yards of cornfields. And then the two cornfields that were just part of the front where they cultivate. He's like, they're surrounded by cornfields. And the dogs goes into the cornfield, doesn't come out. So then they go out there the next day. They went in flashlight and they heard something large and big growling. Felt like it was stalking him or charging him. So he ran back inside. His son came over. His son's already grown. They had another son that passed. So anyway, this son comes, and they go walking around looking for the dog. They find it the next day, and it's basically half eaten. And the son claimed to have driven by a couple weeks before all of this and seen a wolf-like creature come out of the cornfield right by where the turn is, by the mailbox, and just stand there. So who knows? I don't know what that is. Other than the description, he said that it didn't have overly large shoulders. It was black, and it was standing with its arms out like this. But there was like hands. Then there was the hocks, the legs. Perfect description of what you would think of a Dogman. And then of course somebody contacted them, and then I got the message, and then I contacted them. But you can't. He hasn't seen anything else other than that. He's walked the property multiple times. He's gone out there with a gun. His dad and mother and dad are terrified. They don't know what to do. The mom and dad want to move, but now they're farm they've had for 30 years. Let's get up and move. And so they're thinking about selling. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. The thing with the barn would really freak me out. I don't know. As far as what I know, we only talked about the Dogman activity. I haven't heard them say anything about any other sort of activity, just the Dogman activity. And as far as I know, that's all that's gone on. But I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. And I'm probably going to have to do a lot more research and at some point get them to come on, or at least maybe one of them, hopefully. People are freaked out, though. I mean, I don't blame them. Like, Brenda, it was hard. She backed out of the whole TV spot, which ultimately led me to doing that. But, yeah, it people did not let people want to talk about it, and it took a month for me to get her to come on and talk about it, and these people aren't interested right now in talking about it on TV on the show, but maybe at some point they will. But it's just one of those things where people are so freaked out, that you can't just expect everybody to be the same. Be like, oh yeah, I'm willing to talk about it. I'll tell you all about it. Everybody's different, And when I was working with Vic on DER, one of the things that came up over and over again, I'd say, well, I have the real names. And we just kind of came to the conclusion that we were just going to not really name names. We're just going to like leave it anonymous. And if, because it's the best way to do it, because at some point those people could come back and say, oh, I don't want you, creates problems. So anonymity is important, but it's good to get the people themselves to come on and tell their stories. And I got a bunch of them. I can go back in my phone is just messenger, but this show, because last week was my show back, and I was still very weak and not real, So this show here, I wanted to do have a little more meat on the for you guys, and so I put together a show. Phil Stern was supposed to come on and tell his story about what happened to him in Norway, but he didn't. So everybody be very angry with that little jerk, and we're going to eventually get him on. I'm going to pin him down. I'm going to make him tell that story. You watch. I have ways of making you talk, Mr. Stern. And so we're going to have him come on at some point, hopefully, and I'm hoping that more people will be willing to come forward and tell the story in their own words. I don't mind telling people stories and whatever, but it's always nice for someone to come on and tell it in their own words if they can speak well. The thing is, Phil doesn't think he can, and he really can. He's wrong. He speaks very well. I don't know what the guy's problem is. But anyways, anybody got anything they want to talk about? You want to say? This person here, BSSR Paranormal. Anytime you want me to share share my son's Dogman encounter December 2019, let me know. I was going to tell Voldemort, but decided against it. I'm glad I did. Laugh out loud. Plus, I have plenty of ghost experiences. That hit me up on Messenger. If you got Facebook, hit me up on Facebook Messenger. That'd probably be the best way, and then we could try to communicate. Updates on Hernandez Ranch, mode and mechanics. I agree with you. Someone else asked about it. It says, but any updates on Hernandez Ranch? Yes. And I was gearing up to do Jerry's story, but something recently happened. So I kind of wanted to have to talk to him and bring him on, because not bring him on, but do his story. But there was more stuff that came out, so we're kind of waiting on that. Corley, thank you for that donation. See if I've reached my quota where I don't get beat. Yes, I believe so. We just hit it. Thank goodness. That Anthony boy, he's something else. Denise Mayer, are you talking to me? You said something, or are you asking that question to somebody in the chat? It says, why won't you return to Washington? I got no problem going to Washington. I just don't want to go to California. Okay, so BS. Okay, so you're the world's largest ghost hunt. Do you want to explain what that is? Angela Pelagi, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I do. Stories of ghosts and zombie ghosts. Because the zombie and the vampire episode are so far back, we're gonna have to do another one of those real soon because we definitely have a bevy of stories in both those categories. Enough to do at least an hour long show on each one, maybe more. Any stories of Devil's Backbone? Actually, I talk about that with Barton. It probably won't be the one this Friday, but it'll probably be part 2. Folks, on the one with Barton, I think part 2 is probably going to be the best, and then you have part 1 and 3. But I think 2 and 3 will be way better than part 1, because part 1 we had to get all the formalities out and all that, and then get all the information and stuff. And Denise, when did I say I wasn't going back to Washington? Did I say I was never going back to Washington? And if I did, I don't. Yeah, Corley. Yeah, actually, Corley. Yes, I have talked to cab drivers, a couple times. Uber drivers, actually, too. Not too long ago, we were downtown, which we never go there now because of all the shootings and all the nightmare that has become this city. But yeah, I had talked to an Uber driver who I gave him a business card, and he had given us a ride, dropped us off. I don't know if we were downtown. Where the heck were we? I don't remember, or maybe my car was in the shop. I don't remember, but anyway, I think I was with Scorpion, and we had an Uber driver that gave us a ride, and I ended up giving him a business card, and he said he had some crazy stories, and he actually emailed me, and I need to get on that and talk to him because he said he's got some. Yeah, Last Starfighter. Yeah, it says here, I know about Devil's Backbone. The Kamal County is cursed and actually means shadowed land. Lots of bad stuff near there. Yep, you're right. Yep. Uh, Beautiful Disaster. Are you referring to me? What season and episode of These Woods Are Haunted was he in? Are you asking me that? Because if you're talking about me, I was in season 3, and I'm on episode 1, and I'm on the first set of that first episode, and it's me and Scorpion, and it's the Church of the Forgotten, which I've already done on this show, but we did it for TV. Can you share a flannel man story? I've heard of stories involving flannel. I don't know what that is or why that is, but the arm that I had told of a story of an arm coming down and choking someone was of a flannel. It had that flannel shirt, like it was a flannel. It was a blue one, I believe, and it choked somebody. It's crazy. Robert Moore, thanks for your donation. Somebody just asked what was the Curse series. What do you mean series? There was no series. Robert, thank you for that donation. I appreciate it. heck was that? That was weird. I don't know if anybody heard that. Corley, hit me up on Facebook on Messenger because my email is like slammed. But you can send it there, but it might be a while before I can get to it. It says here I own a taxi company in what does it say, Galesburg, Illinois, and I've seen some scary things. The scariest probably being a possessed female customer I picked up about 8 years ago. You got to give me that. You got to send that to me so we can talk about that. And if you're willing to talk about it and come on the show, that'd be even better. Near-death experience stories. My mother, she died before she died this last time. So anyways, folks, we got a lot to chew on, with Jason Bland going to be coming on the show. Got Albert Rosales. Like I said, his word can't be overstated. And then Barton Nunley going to be on with me. Me and Barton did probably it's be a 3-parter, and you don't have to hear me talk the whole time. I talk some, but Barton can talk, so he's got a lot to say, and I love it. Did a good job. Denise, the new ferret is 2 ferrets. We have Snowy and Story. I was planning on bringing one of the little critters up here tonight, and then we have Martis the cat. So I was thinking, how do we do this? Yeah, Corley, get with me about that. We can definitely talk. I got a lot of people to talk to, but I was supposed to talk to Jody Cook yesterday, and we talked on what was yesterday? Monday. We talked on Sunday. And then we kind of played phone tag, I missed him on Monday. And so Brian Bowden is another person that I'm going to get on the show. I've been talking with him, and it's just been heck trying to coordinate for us to be able to talk. Today was really, really busy, and I'm super tired. So BSR Paranormal. Says you can participate in person. I have the old Blackford County Jail in Hartford City, or you can watch the live stream starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. We are also featuring some of the best well-known. Do you have a Facebook? I can call you and then you can explain that to me. So you can explain that to me. If you have a Lene Perkins, yeah, Lene, I saw my grandmother twice. She died when I was a little bitty boy, like not even 2, and I saw her 2 different times. Once when I was digging in a toy box at my friend's house, believe it or not, I heard a noise behind me. I turned around and looked, and I saw her. The other time was when I was sick in the hospital from H1N1. So. Yeah, BSR Paranormal, do you have a oh man, excuse me, folks. God dang. Hold on 1 second, folks. I might be doing another phone call here. Okay, hang on 1 second. Looks like I will be. Is it just me, or earlier this one said left, this one said, I could have swore it was backwards. Now the cord's on this side. It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. Okay, hang on. Oh, that's very sad, Robin. But also sweet in the same way. Yeah, John Sablon, I believe that what you're talking about is that there was a rabbit that they saw, or they were, and then they saw that creature. So I think that's what you're getting confused when it came to that story. Let me see here. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jen. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So just to explain to me, and I guess to the audience, what is this? The BSR Paranormal.
BSR is my old team. I cannot get logged into my new name,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to use my old one.
That's fine.
But ouch. But I can explain what the world's largest ghost hunt is, if you'd like.
Sure.
So this is the 6th annual. This is the 6th year for it, and this year we have over 120 teams from 13 different countries, and it will be live streamed starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, September 25th. And we also have some really well-known locations that will be featured, such as Ohio State Reformatory Prison, Waverly Hills, the Ancient Ram Inn, the Skerrit Inn, Leap Castle in Ireland, and my favorite is Bronze Castle in Romania, which is Dracula's castle, where Vlad the Impaler lived at.
Wow.
And then we also have it across the U.S. and Canada. And every two...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Every 2 hours, a new location will be featured, and you can choose from which one you want to watch.
Wow.
And we'll be live streaming.
And you're coordinating this?
Maria Schmidt is.
Okay.
And I am helping her out.
Yeah.
There's several of us.
I didn't know you were a big ghost person. I thought you were mostly Dogman type. But yeah, that's cool. And how long? And you've been doing this for 6 years, you said?
World's largest. Around for 6 years. Personally, I've been investigating with a team since 2011. And then Jody took me on as the chapter director for the Indiana chapter of the NADP.
Yeah, and I was just talking to Jody on Sunday. We had like this conversation, and then it was to be continued. He had to do a conference call, and I had to get going. I had things to do, and so we said, "Yeah, okay, well, call me later. Call me tomorrow." And he hit me up, said I'm free, but I couldn't, And then yesterday it was like I just couldn't. I didn't get around to being able to call him and talk to him. I was just so busy, and especially when you're out for 3 weeks with COVID. When you come back,
Oh, yeah.
you got so much going on. You got to take care of. So yeah, it was very hectic. It's been very hectic. Jody is going to be doing some work with me. He's going to be coming on the show too. He's another person I got lined up. And we're behind, folks, because 3 weeks out. Do the math. We're not where we're supposed to be. We're missing some episodes, so we got to try to catch up. But Jen, you are in the NADP, and you are a Dogman person. Do you have a Dogman story?
Actually, it's my son's.
Yeah. And how about we plan, if you don't mind, if you're available for next Tuesday to come on and tell that story. So I don't have to give away all my material to do, because it's like planning on doing a show, and then I'm like, every time I have to give away more material, and I was hoping that Phil would come on and tell his, but didn't happen. And I don't know if you know Phil Stern, but yeah, he was supposed to come on and talk about his story, and it didn't happen. Would you be willing to come on next week and talk about this?
That's fine.
Yeah. And I appreciate you coming on and explaining to us what this was, because I was not sure what you were talking about. I wasn't sure that it was you. And so
yeah. We do have a website.
Mm-hmm.
It's nationalghosthuntingday.com.
Write that down. nationalghosthuntingday.com. What day is it again? One more time.
Saturday, September 25th. And if you go to Thriller Events, you can purchase tickets if you want to participate. And I have 2 locations in Hartford City, Indiana. The old Blackford County Jail and the Irvin Campbell Speakeasy.
Mm-hmm. And it's called...
And I know there's
called...
some... Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. We keep interrupting. It's called World's Largest Ghost Hunt?
Yes. And National Ghost Hunting Day is a calendar event yearly. It's the last Saturday of every September.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and we can get into your Dogman stories next Tuesday. That'd be great. I hope you come on and if you're not too busy, and we can go over all this.
I don't think I work my part-time job next Tuesday. I'll have to double check.
Well, if you do, you need to get off. That's the bottom line. Okay.
I know it's Walmart, so yeah, I do.
Yeah, you just need to tell them, look, China can wait. You get, just go. They'll be there when we're done. So anyway.
I do security, so I'm like.
Oh, you do security, Jen? I've known you all this time. I didn't know you did that. You've been friends on Facebook for a long time.
Oh yeah. And we share the same dislike for some people too.
We
won't go there.
We're not going to go into those long. I could go into a whole dissertation about certain people, but we'll let them be. Yeah, but absolutely. So I'm going to jump off pretty soon, but I'm going to let you go, Jen. And I want everybody. Jen Jacobs, a friend of mine. I've known her for years. She's in the NADP, and you are the head of the Indiana chapter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm based I'm not very far from Jason.
Yeah. Do you know Jason?
I do not, but when he started talking about Primrose Road, I knew right where he was talking about.
That's cool. Jason's a good guy. I like Jason a lot, and I think that it's going to be a really good show when me and him get together and do that. And I'd like you to come on the live stream next week and talk, because obviously Mr. Stern is a little too squirrely. So, all right, Jen, I'm going to let you go. It sounds like you're sharpening some knives. What you got going on?
I cleaned a plate off from my kids.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you was getting ready to put somebody in the oven or something. Or chopping somebody up.
Shoot.
All right.
Oh, it's 12:30 here, and I'm still awake trying to clean up after them.
Really? I thought, okay, Indiana, is it divided into 2 different time zones?
It is. Michigan City, Gary, closer to Chicago is an hour behind me.
Yeah, they're to the west. Yeah, because Jason's times mine is the same. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and some of the ladies I talked to for the world's largest ghost hunt, they're in Iowa, and they're an hour behind too.
That's
It's
weird.
kind of wonky.
Indiana's such a populated and big state. Like a lot of people live there. People don't even realize, and it always gets overlooked when people talk about the Midwest. It always gets overlooked. I don't know. It's just one of those things.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Jen. Well, I'm gonna let you go, and we will talk again on Tuesday. We'll coordinate it before then. And folks, you'll be in for a treat. Jen can tell you her son's Dogman encounters.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
All right.
Very interesting.
And you just told us the world's largest ghost hunt. You can go to the website, and it is on September 25th is when it happens. So guys, be ready. That sounds very interesting. A lot of different locations, and every 2 hours a different location. How many are there altogether?
There's over 120 locations worldwide, and you get to choose which ones you want to watch.
Whoa. That's really interesting. Okay, cool. Well, I'll definitely be looking into that. Folks, be looking into that, and we're going to jump off here in just a minute. So, Jen, it was good hearing from you, and I'll talk to you again off air.
All righty, and I will let you know if I work Tuesday or not.
Okay, and if you do, well, we'll just have to reschedule, but hopefully you won't.
I'll just call you from Walmart.
Yeah, just come. Are you out in the parking lot driving the car?
No, we don't have those.
What? The ones here do.
Well, when I lived in Fort Wayne, it's a bigger city, much bigger. It's the second largest in Indiana, behind Indy. We did, but here we don't.
Well,
I was kind of shocked.
Wow, that sucks.
It's a treat.
Yeah, I would not want to have to do security and not be able to go sit out in the car and drive around, because that's the fun part, just driving in the parking lot, popping wheelies. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Jen, I'll see you.
All righty. Have a good night.
All right, you too. All right, bye.
Bye.
So, folks, that was Jen Jacobs, a good friend of mine, and I didn't even realize that was her. That was her doing that. So, somebody just asked, how is Linda Godfrey? Barton had messaged her. She was doing better. She was feeling a little better, and she had said that she was going to pray for me and Nellie, and Barton had told her what was going on with us, and she's a very nice person, and she was like concerned. But the last time he messaged her, he didn't get a response, so I think she has good days, she has bad days. Let's see what you did there, Nina. You need to be a little more stern with Phil. I think everybody needs to jump on Phil. Go over there to that fan page group, whatever, and just flood it with angriness. You can find him there. He thinks he's going to escape without telling his story, but he won't. Don't worry. We're not going to let him off the hook. Their only Kevlar is Christ. You're right. Let me ask another question. This is something that me, Lyle, Ken, and Barton have been pondering over too. If we do create this action figure line with the researchers and the podcast, not podcasts, but researchers, /authors, and then the Bigfoot, Dogman, Mothman, all the Chupacabra, all those different figures, would you guys buy them? Let me see what you say. Would you collect them? And they're not really to be played with. They're more to be kept in the package type thing. Athena, yeah, I think you definitely can. I think you can make yourself sick over anything. Peasant in a tree. Thank you for that compliment. Says Albert Rosales is the GOAT, favorite researcher. Josh and Nellie Turner, my favorite show of all time. Thank you. Angela, you keep pushing those minifigures. See, that's the thing. Angela wants to do these minifigures, and then we can maybe, I was thinking maybe we could sell those to fund the 3 3/4 inch line. What do you think about that, Angela? The action figure looked like my uncle, who I believe was a creature you saw. Bart Rogolski, it says, good to see you doing well, Josh. Listening to you down here in Sydney, Australia while in lockdown. Y'all are in lockdown? What happened to Norm MacDonald? Oh my gosh. Come on now. Not him too. Angela, if you want to start on that, if you want to start making little pocket PRT figures, that'd be great. You can do all the people from the PRT team. And we could use that as a template, as a tester to see how they come out. You can make one of each of us, just to see how they come out and how they look. God, 12 weeks in lockdown. I'm glad I don't live over there or in Britain or any of these other countries. I mean, I live in the country of Texas. It's awesome. This is a great country. It's my country. Last Starfighter Airborne in East LA, you're gonna have to get message me so we can talk, so we can set up a time. Somebody needs to do a Photoshop of Phil running away from me, trying to get his story. Which I already did. I got his story years ago, and I did it on Dogman Encounters, but I thought it was a really creepy story, and he could tell it. But what'd he do? He hid from me. See how it is. Hopefully Jen will come through, Jen Jacobs. Phil blew me off. I never thought I'd live to see the day. One British officer afraid to back up another. What movie is that from? Huh? Also, folks, going to let you know, we're going to post the link to this, and we're going to put it on the Paranormal Round Table group, the group page, in case you don't know. We're going to post in the group. Yeah, Angela, we'll talk on there with me, you, and Nellie. We can talk about it. Paranormal Roundtable group page. We also have Paranormal Encounters. We have Paranormal Lounge. We have Paranormal Prayer Group. We have a Whisper to a Scream. I'm in a bunch of other admins, whatever. But anyways, we're going to post the link to this show in the PRT group, and we're going to give away a free hat. The hat looks like hey, Anthony. Let me see if I can get him to get off the phone, stop drinking White Claw, and come here. Hey, bring a PRT hat so I can show everybody in case they forgot what they look like. Well, that's good, Eve, what Eve just said. They look like this. Wouldn't you like that? That's really cool. I swear I got that Lyle Blackburn song stuck in my head. A Drink with the Living Dead. I've heard it twice today, and it's like, it's a really good song. Folks, if you haven't heard it, go listen to it. Not just because Lyle's my friend, I like him a lot, but but that song is really good. He's got a great band. Watch the official Elvira video, and it's really cool. And it's just he's got a really good thing going with his band, Ghoultown. He's going to have several figures of himself where he's going to take to these conferences that's coming up. He's going to be in a different conference every other weekend, and he's going to try to see what the market looks like for a Lyle Blackburn action figure. And then we're going to make, we are in the process of talking to, or in the process of making them for Ken Gerhardt so he can try to sell some at his conferences. And then I thought I might just drop in and be like, hey, you, why don't you buy this? No, I'll just choke a few people here and there, and that's about it. Punch them, kick them, bite them. Then they'll buy. They'll buy. Just kidding. Can't do that. You either buy it or you're dead to me. It sounds pretty cool if you're into the ghost hunting thing and being able to watch them go to these different locations or whatever. 120 locations, and then you get to pick what you want to do, and then there's one every 2 hours. Oh, okay. I see this webcams. Okay. Gary, Anthony, can you kick this webcams chat out, please? I just realized what that was. Block them. Destroy them. Charlie Perez just came on here. He said, Josh, the figures are going well. Just wanted everyone to know they're coming out awesome. You've done 2 different Sasquatch, I believe, right, Charlie? Because they look pretty amazing. I was like, man, that is crazy work. I can't play instruments, but I can dance. I don't know if that if you guys want to see me dance, you see me dance, you want to see me do a dance move, folks. I can literally do a dance move just sitting here. I can do it, but I need people to say yes. If you say yes, then I'll do it. If anybody's interested, but I'll do it before we get off of here. The Falk Monster, and that would be Lyle. Come on, Amy said dance. Anybody else say dance? If you type in dance, I'll do a dance move. You only get one, and you're not going to get much time. I'm going to jump off if we don't get people saying it. Football card said no. Speaking of which, football, my Cowboys and my Bucks played one of the greatest games that I've ever seen ever, and it was amazing. And it was like I predicted that the Bucks would squeak it out. I said that, and not on here, I guess maybe not, but I've been saying that. And yeah, that's what's happened. See, people aren't doing it right. They're saying yes instead of dance. I said say dance. You're not listening. That's your problem, folks. You don't listen to me. Once again, dance. You got to say dance. I need a bunch of people to say dance in a row. You're not doing it. See, you don't want to see me dance? Huh? Play some Pitbull on there. You know what I'm saying? No. And by the way, Mr. Pyrus, can you please stop trying to get my friends to become your friends? Stop sending people friend requests that are friends of mine because they're not going to want to be your friend. So just knock it off, dude. Some people don't even spelling dance correctly. Look at that. Yeah, the town that dreaded sundown. Yeah, that actually happened in Texarkana. So, and he was never caught. That killer. He was never caught. Here it is, right here, folks. Here it goes. That's all you get. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got for you, folks. I could do much better. I could do the Running Man. Okay, my brother does the Running Man too, but it's horrible. He just like bends his knees back and forth and goes like this. I can actually do the Running Man, but I'm sitting down. So, okay, folks, that's all the time I have for tonight, man. I got to get going. I got to get home. Sorry, we got a late start. It is what it is. My wife made dinner, even though I told her not to, and she was feeling bad, and she just wants to keep on doing stuff, and I want her to get well. Inner Earth, yes. We will talk about that. Actually, me and Barton will be talking about some of that stuff too. It will be come Friday. Stoked about it. We did a show, and it was really interesting. I enjoyed talking to him, and I think that you people will enjoy listening. And hopefully, you'll like and subscribe on all of my shows and everything. Just like and subscribe. Whether you just watch the YouTube or you watch this and then you go and watch it on another platform, whatever, I need people to like. It helps with the algorithms, things like that. So me and Albert Rosales will be doing a show. It'll be me and Jason Bland will be doing a show. There's some other people that I've been corresponding with and I might be able to get on. You'd be surprised who I talk to and who I know. Not brag. That sounds bragging. I'm not like it's just people that you're going to want to hear talk. Let's put it that way. They're people that you're going to want to know what they have to say, and you might be surprised. So we've been hard at work. You're off on Tuesday? Good. And then you can tell your son's Dogman stories? Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jen Jacobs, for that. You do 25 in life for the love of the blood sports. Yeah. The shirt, it makes me want to dance, move. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. I'm done being a clown. John Travolta, I don't think I could challenge John Travolta, dude. I'm not. I don't think so. I heard that guy's like famous for like crashing like weddings and parties and stuff. All right, guys. Love you, everybody. Thank you for being listeners. We're going to get it done. Gary's giving it away. I do dance, actually. I can dance. I got good footwork. I boxed for years. And actually, Gary was one of my students. Coach boxing for a long time. I was teaching people how to throw them hands. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you.